Tom has to hold his whole end on his own.
I was supposed to zoom it, he showed up, sorry.
I'll do my best.
Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to the August 19th, 2026 Yarmouth Planning Board meeting. I am Joran Crowley, Chair. The public is welcome to attend in person, and I see that many of you are here. We welcome you here. Or via alternative public access provided on the notice of meeting available on the Town of Yarmouth website. Mr. Rubenstein, do we have anybody over there?
Hi. There are a few people
Okay, good.
in the attendee box, and we
Okay.
will gladly update you, Madam
Yeah,
Chair,
oh,
as we
thank you.
continue.
I'd like to take roll call. Susan Britta, Deirdre Grayquin, Tom Pendleton,
Present.
Will Rubenstein,
Here.
Peter Slovak,
Here.
Ken Smith,
Here.
Joanne Crowley here. Seeing that we have a quorum present, I'll now call the meeting to order, and I would ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a feeling that will be the happiest moment of this meeting.
Now let's see how it goes after that.
We're all happy up here.
We're all happy. We're all
Here.
happy.
Sure?
And I welcome all of you tonight. Thanks for coming. The first item on our agenda this evening is short-term rentals. We have received from Kathy the red line draft number 9 dated August 17th, 2026. Again, the new text is highlighted, and Kathy's got a couple of editions of this in our packet. So I'd like Kathy to start with an update on draft 9 and the spreadsheet that she and our building commissioner, Mark Grills, have put together with regard to the registrations this year. We also have received several comments in writing from many of you. We appreciate that. Also included in our packets, some are late coming. Kathy's taken the time to include them and provide them to us this evening. For those members of the public this evening who would like to speak regarding their notes to us, I would ask that you provide a concise and condensed version of your note. We have your note. We know what your thoughts are, but I think it's important for you to have the public hear a summary of what your comments are. And I'd just like to remind everyone, you've heard me say this before, this is an ongoing process to produce the best bylaw for the town of Yarmouth. We've been focusing on enforcement, occupancy, ownership, and parking. It seems to be occupancy and parking seem to be the key issues at this point, but I welcome any other concerns you might have. And so I'd like to turn the meeting over to Kathy with a discussion of the short-term rentals article.
Sure. I think, just to kind of go over how we might format this for special town meeting. Some of you may not be familiar with all of these types of different articles that go on the warrant for town meeting. But I think the first warrant article that we would have would be the general bylaw, which is the short-term provisions. Everything that we're talking about tonight would end up going into what's called a general bylaw. Right now, a lot of these provisions are included in our zoning bylaw, which with zoning bylaw, it allows for things like grandfathering. It also requires 2/3 majority vote. A general bylaw is a majority vote and doesn't have grandfathering abilities like zoning does. So if that zoning bylaw passes, general bylaw passes, great, yay. Then we have zoning, our short-term rental article number 2, which would just basically say we're modifying the existing bylaw to show that the use is allowed, but instead of in accordance with the zoning bylaw section 418, it's going to be in accordance with the general bylaw. And then ultimately, if it fails, we would withdraw article number 2 because we don't want to change that without having the provisions available. And then we would move to article 3, where obviously we didn't get something quite right, so we would want to extend the sunset clause so we could look at it a little bit more detail. So those are kind of the 3 articles for short-term rentals that would be on the special town meeting warrant, which is currently scheduled for November 16th at the DY Intermediate School.
Kathy, did you want to go through the calendar at some point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't
Okay. I don't want to
think I have the
interrupt your
I'm sorry,
flow
I don't know
here.
if I have the calendar here.
You do.
It's in your packet.
Yep,
But I don't know
I
if I
have
have
it.
it for
Oh, for the public.
the public, yeah. So basically, draft number 9 is just draft number 8, but with some comments received from town council. Many of you know that at our last meeting, our town council, Jay Tallerman, was here and answered a lot of questions from the board and tried to help us tailor and identify some language and terminology that we should be using for this. So one of the things that's a little bit different here is we have been concentrating on short-term rental ownership. I mean, who owns the short-term rental? But what we're doing in this article, in this draft here, is we're really concentrating, instead of on ownership, we're concentrating on limiting the number of short-term rentals that any owner could have to one. And we'll talk about that in a little bit later. So the definition of corporations isn't necessarily needed anymore, so that's why that's been eliminated, because we're not eliminating corporations from owning something, we're limiting it to one per owner, which could be a corporation. You'll see that there's changes to the definition of owner that the town council has made, and basically allowed it to be including corporations, LLCs, trusts, and other entities. He did have some minor edits in red line edits with regard to the short-term rental definition. You can see those, anything that's in red or blue, those are the comments from town council, which are minor changes. I don't see any issues with any of those. One of the things he had thought, if we're not looking at ownership anymore, maybe we should eliminate eliminate the definition of timeshare, fractional and interval ownership. We don't have a lot of timeshares right now we have none that are actually acting as short-term rentals. They all have motel licenses. But to prevent this from ever happening in the future, I think we should retain this, this definition and the ineligibility of these types of units. So the town council just said, maybe not necessary. I'm kind of saying, I think it probably should be included as kind of a cover it for future. He had a few edits under ineligible items, approved accessory apartments and approved under the zoning bylaw, just some clarifying language. Again, because we're not looking so much at corporations, he eliminated the ineligible units of C corporations. He had crossed out the timeshare, fractional, or interval ownership, but again, I think that is something that we need to include. And then we had talked a lot about the duplexes that are currently right now in the economic bond bill, to require all communities to allow duplexes by right in all residential zoning districts, but giving us the right to prevent them from being short-term rentals. So this is just trying to cover us in case that does move forward. It's in conference committee right now. That may not be something that gets decided until after special town meeting, but we want to be sure that we don't want any additional housing that's being created by these state mandates aren't turning into short-term rentals, because that's not what we're looking for. We want to have year-round homes for people. So that was a good catch. And the language that he put in there is where they would put that in the zoning law, which is Mass General Law, Chapter 48, would be in Section 3. So that's why he included that reference. I thought it was a nice way of covering it. I don't know if you want to have any interactions with the planning board at this time?
Sure. Why don't we go through any questions that planning board members have at this point? Kathy, I think just working backwards, the conversation that we've had about duplexes is really important, because this is a very gray area, because this is in conference now on Beacon Hill, and we have already received some correspondence about what portions of the bill include duplexes, and essentially it would allow a duplex anywhere.
Yeah, it could be a non-conforming lot. It could be like a 10,000 square foot lot. If you had the ability to have adequate septic, you could have a duplex, and you could also have one of these protected ADUs, which is another state mandate for housing that the communities don't have any choice about.
So it is of concern to us, because we don't know exactly where they're going to land. And this movement of the governor and staff at the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities has been moving rather quickly to restrict our ability as a town to zone the way we want. And that is of real concern to us. That ability of a town, because we're all different, all 351 of us are very different, and we would like to have the capacity and the legal ability to zone the way we think not the planning board, but the way you think we should have our residential and commercial areas zoned. So this is an ongoing piece. This isn't meant to be a call for action by any of you, but I would encourage you, because you're so actively involved in this and this housing issue, that you pay as much attention as you can to what's going on Beacon Hill, because the issue about duplexes is one of concern for us, and maybe it is for you, but it's out there, and sometimes Beacon Hill is not as transparent as we would like it to be.
Madam Chair, I wonder if we should have a brief primer on what
Here.
I wonder if we should have a brief primer on what the economic bond bill really is, and what it entails, and how, I mean, I think you stated clearly how it affects us, but, what really is this? I'm not sure the public understands what the bond bill is.
I would recommend, Kathy, is there any way that we can post the memo that I received from Selectman Forrest today on the comments from the MMA?
Yeah, the Massachusetts Municipal Association has been following this economic bond bill very closely, and taking into consideration all the interests of all 351 of us. And they had a letter that they wrote to the different representatives that are doing in the conference committee right now, and they kind of identified the things that they were opposing within the economic bond bill and things that they were in support of. And I think that a lot of the ones that were of emphasis to us had to do with, changes to zoning through an economic development bond bill, which is very unusual. It's not through a traditional method of Chapter 40A. They've also been doing this a lot, and they did a little bit of changes to the Zoning Act, which is kind of the state's zoning bylaw, through the FY appropriations, which was very unusual, through what they call outside sections. So there's a lot of things going on at the State House now that are impacting us as a community and requiring us to make zoning changes, or are requiring us to allow certain things that we as a community may not have wanted. So staying involved and getting that information out, and maybe even writing to your to the representatives might be helpful. But I can certainly, I just don't know where I would put it on the town website.
Yeah, we don't have to decide that now, but it is public correspondence from Selectman Forrest to me and you, and maybe we could check with him as to how we want to get it on the.
I do know that the select board did discuss it at their last meeting, and the MMA had a previous version of it that was included in their meeting packet, so that has a lot of that information in it already.
Yeah. So I apologize for taking up a little too much time on this, but the next item on our agenda, accessory dwelling units, is a perfect example of where local zoning has been overruled.
Overruled?
Overwhelmed? What would we call it?
How about replace?
Replaced.
We've been overstepped. Overstepped
Something.
on.
And so I will stop there, and we'll continue with short-term rentals.
So I didn't know if anyone, we'll talk.
Any questions for Kathy as we go through this?
Through this section,
Yeah.
418.3.
Yeah. So far, we're up to ineligible units.
Right. Not at this time, Madam Chair.
No, Madam
No,
Chair.
ma'am.
Okay.
So I know that we had a lot of discussion, and I think there was a lot of correspondence related to how occupancy is set. And I think the confusion was by me including a reference to Title V, which is what we're really saying is that you need to take your septic system capacity into play when you're developing the occupancy for a property. But I also referenced General Bylaw, Chapter 108, occupancy of buildings, and that's what the Health Department looks at as well, and that references the State Sanitary Code. So I think I might have been overcomplicating it by referencing Title V, so we simply took that out and said they're going to determine it based on inspections and septic capacity like they have been doing for decades. So we're not changing that. That's really their regulations and not really something that's in the purview, in my opinion, of the planning board to make a
I think
change.
that's an important clarification. We don't have control over that, and it would not be in the purview of the planning board to make a change to that. We have no control over that.
Yeah, it's other regulations that the health.
Kathy was just trying to be was trying to clarify it, but it's strictly by the Board of Health.
Yeah, by their regulations and by septic capacity. So limitations, this was just a little bit reworded here. So except as otherwise noted in this section, the following limitation shall apply to short-term rentals. So no owner, now that can encompass a little bit more people, shall register more than one dwelling unit as a short-term rental in the town of Yarmouth. And then no person shall have legal or equitable title. This is so that you don't have someone who has an LLC, whoops, I'm so sorry. Have an LLC where they own 5 LLCs, because it's very easy to create an LLC and have your name on everything, but no person shall have a legal or equitable title or beneficial interest in more than one short-term rental in the town of Yarmouth. And then we also have owners or principals, beneficiary managers, officers, or shareholders of a corporation must reside in the subject dwelling for a minimum of 14 days annually. This was something that was brought up in the last meeting, and I included some language with regard to that, but I think this is something, because we didn't want someone just to come and just have it be a short-term rental. We wanted them to have some ownership, have some investment in the property and coming and using it, which I think the vast majority of our short-term rentals are that type, where it's a seasonal home for someone. They use it sometimes, but they also rent it out for a period of time in the summer. But knowing whether someone has stayed there for 14 days and ever proving it or not proving it is impossible. So I really am recommending that we don't include something like that, just because it's not just hard to enforce, it's impossible to enforce. That is certainly what we're looking at and looking for, but I don't think that we can include that. And then the last item there in D, and this is a comment that I need to get clarification from town council. He was out of the office this Monday through Wednesday, so I haven't been able to get in touch with him. But I had originally had no short-term rental shall be used solely or as investment properties in residential zoning districts. He crossed that out and then put in, for the purposes of this section, a short-term rental shall not be permitted if the owner thereof or any entity that has a substantial relation to the owner has any direct or indirect interest or control in another owner that possesses a registered short-term rental. I'm not sure what that means. And I'm not sure how that's really different than B, where we were just talking about it. You can't have beneficial interest in another short-term rental. So that's something that we need a little bit of clarification from town council on. Okay.
Comments or questions from the board?
None.
No,
So are we good taking out the 14 days?
I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I agree. It's not enforceable.
That doesn't mean it's not an important issue. And that's the difficulty, what we're trying to make zoning bylaws, and general bylaws, is that I think all of us agree with those that made that suggestion for the 14 days, but the reality of the execution and the enforcement in the real world is literally not possible. So I hope everybody understands there is sympathy with the issue, but there's also no mechanism in which to actually enforce it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, there are other towns that have limitations, right? Falmouth being one.
Falmouth
there
and
are.
Provincetown limited
It
to,
is done in other towns and enforced somehow, right? So,
not the 14 days, no.
no, but
No.
is it, Falmouth has longer?
They don't have any days.
No restrictions?
Not to my recollection, no. They do allow more short-term rentals by a single owner than we do. But the whole idea was, if you own more than one short-term rental, you're in the short-term rental business. But if you have a second home here and you want to rent it out for a little bit of time to get some additional funds to pay for it, but you're using it as your family other times, then that's been the traditional use of short-term rentals in the town of Yarmouth. We did not want to punish people who have been doing short-term rentals for a little bit and happen to own more than one. Hang on, just let me see. So there are, right now, there are about 22 owners who have more than one short-term rental in the town of Yarmouth. So there are some people, of the 776 on the list that I had, that was printed out from OpenGov and is in your packet. And then there was about 42 LLCs and 26 trusts. And the trusts were kind of like family trusts, realty trusts, that type of thing. But there were a couple owners of companies that were like real estate partners, like limited partnership or limited liability partnership. So I think we want to stop the proliferation of somebody owning more than one, But we don't want to punish someone who's already invested in our community, and it doesn't appear as though it's a significant number of units right now. So the modification here is just saying if you held a valid 2025 or 2026 rental certificate on more than one short-term rental, you can continue to register more than one short-term rental until the property is sold or transferred, and you continue to hold a valid annual rental occupancy certificate. So if 1 year you decide not to do it, then you've lost your grandfathering.
Any comments or questions from the board on that? Okay,
I think that's been more than fair, Madam Chair.
okay, thank you, Mrs. Smith.
I think down here, there's just a slight rewording of this phrase about the maximum number of cars or property can accommodate on-site shall be determined by the health or building departments at time of inspection. I know there's been some discussion. One of the comments was related to whether we really needed to have that first sentence there under parking saying adequate on-site parking shall be provided with a minimum of one space per bedroom. Because someone may not have, if you have a 5-bedroom home, you may not have space for 5 on-site parking spaces, but you may have more than adequate space for cars to rent out to the 5 rooms. Maybe you have 2 families coming and they have 2 cars, or maybe you have, an uncle coming or something along those lines. So I think it's more of a case of maybe adequate on-site parking shall be provided with the maximum number of cars a property can accommodate set by the health or building department at the time of inspection. And what that really means is they're going to look and see how many cars can you actually park in your driveway, not on the street and not on your lawn. Because some of the complaints that we've received is, people are parking any old place and there's a ton of cars on a particular short-term rental, and that's something we want to avoid.
Madam Chair, can I
Yes,
just
yeah.
interject on that one?
On
Kathy?
parking.
Should it say that as far as the maximum number of cars? Somewhere in that sentence, say off-street parking specifically?
Well, there's another sentence in there, there shall be no,
Okay,
the maximum, oh, okay.
I'm reading on the yellow highlight. The
yellow.
sentence before is fine. Thank you, I see it.
Yeah, sorry.
Madam Chair, can I just ask
Mr.
one clarification because
Sure,
Mr.
Mr.
Grills is here? If Mr. Grills doesn't mind, I just wanted to get clarification on what are the overnight street parking rules in the town of Yarmouth for everybody, not just for folks who are in neighborhoods with short-term rentals. If you could just please clarify that, I would really appreciate it.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mark Grills. Parking in the street is regulated by posting. If the street's not posted, no parking, people can park there. And I've had that conversation with the police chief. It's enforced by the police department.
There are some restrictions, like obviously you can't park in front of a fire hydrant, and you can't park within 20 feet of an intersection, or that type of thing. But generally, if it's not posted, then it's allowed.
So it's like right turn on red. You can make one unless the sign says no right turn on red.
Correct.
With some
Okay.
caveats.
Okay, yes, but I'm just trying to make it work in my head because I'm sure all of us have driven through places, yes, even at late hours, whether we want to admit it or not, and have seen cars parked on the street in very tight locations. I don't know how else to say it. So unless it's posted, no parking this side or whatever, it is allowed.
If it's
And
a
this,
hazard-
besides this particular bylaw and these particular,
If it's a hazard for access for emergency vehicles, then, they should call the police and let them know that
of
there's a
course,
concern.
and
But it's not seasonal? I thought during the winter it was,
Well, for snow plowing, maybe if it's posted, again, if
it
there's no
has to be
sign.
posted. Okay.
Yes, if there's no sign, they can't enforce anything.
I
also
appreciate you answering that, and I know it's,
Thank you.
not high on your list of favorite subjects, but it is important to
It doesn't
clarify.
faze
and
me
you
at
happen
all.
to be here to help us clarify it.
I also think there's, who can require a no posting sign? I think that's the select board.
Yeah, I believe the DPW brings it to the select
Right.
board and they make that determination. That's the way it was explained to me 10, 12 years ago.
It can be petitioned by the neighborhood, too, to the DPW, which then brings it to the select board.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I think that happened on Center Street near
Exactly
near
right.
Grays Beach, yeah.
But here specifically for the purposes, Madam Chair, sorry, still related to this conversation. For the purposes of this general bylaw, we're saying for short-term rentals, for their addresses, there is no street parking, overnight street parking at those addresses, regardless of what is posted or not posted.
Correct.
From 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Correct, if
And
you
that's,
have a
I just
short-term
wanted to
rental.
really just try to make a fine
That's
point of
correct.
it, because I just wanted to make sure it was, in this case, it is different than what is currently going on in the rest of town for unposted streets.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Will.
Anyone else?
On,
Going back to my water.
okay. Any other
Thank you, Mark.
parking?
I guess,
Comments?
do we want to consider eliminating the one, and I certainly would want to hear from the public, but I think the real issue here is you only have so many appropriate parking spaces. We're going to determine that, and we're going to tell you that. And that's one of the things that you need to include in your listing.
Kathy and I had a conversation earlier today as part of our preparation, and one of the examples that was brought forward was a family of 3. A couple and a child, and it's a 2-bedroom. And all the cottages around, they have only one parking space. And so that would, for the property owner, on the property owner's side, because we're trying to balance the needs of the property owner with the neighbors, that would restrict them. And it's only one car. They brought one car, and all they need is one space. So when my thoughts were that we eliminate the floor, meaning the minimum, but we set a maximum, the ceiling. So on this one, I was suggesting that we not have set a minimum based on per bedroom. And I'd like to just open that up for discussion by the board.
Would you change any of the wording here, Madam Chair? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
well, it says adequate on-site parking shall be provided with a minimum of one space per bedroom.
So you would like to change that?
I would suggest that adequate on-site parking be provided, period. Because it's determined by the Board of Health.
Could I
Anyway.
suggest a slight modification of just saying adequate on-site parking shall be provided with the maximum number of cars a property can accommodate on-site determined by the health and building departments at times.
Yeah, yeah.
She's
So
saying.
move that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Move it up.
Just, oh, you're saying take that whole last sentence?
Move it up.
up.
To the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
got a hand raised.
Yeah, there is a hand raised, but I would, yeah.
We're
But we'll wait.
we're
There's
gonna
a
wait.
virtual
Thank you,
hand
Tom.
raised, But whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Sorry.
All set?
Anything else on general provisions from the board? Okay. We eliminated birthday.
Yeah, I added it in, but then I don't want it to be a case where someone's having a small birthday party and somebody, they're singing
I-
happy birthday. Mark gave me the example, someone was singing happy birthday to someone and they got a call about someone making too much noise next door. So I, I don't want to start causing problems.
Right.
Town council took out photo shoots. I think the reason that was originally in there is one of the problems was somebody did not realize that their home was being rented to have an inappropriate photo shoot.
Ew.
So at that time, so that was why that was in there. But I think you should govern that, maybe the owner should govern that on their own of what type of people they're willing. They should say no photo shoots if they don't want photo shoots. And then you just
You
clear.
just go to a Google map and see it anyway.
Oh, I,
Not a photo shoot, but I mean, you'll see the house.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
no, okay. I think
It's an
Kathy was
inside
talking
photo
about
shoot.
somebody was doing something untoward inside the house as a photographic opportunity.
See, I didn't hear that.
That's
I
okay.
went to Catholic
I
school.
know that. You went to Catholic school and I respect it, but I just wanted to clarify what I believe everybody heard.
I didn't hear that.
Sorry, everybody else.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Okay.
He's sorry.
It's okay. I don't have a problem with being taken out. I think that the owners of the short-term rentals need to have a little more control over what they will allow and not allow. And I think that was a one-time thing, and this came out of, the Styler case and all of these concerns that happened back in the day. I love adding or on a short-term rental property. I like that, so not just in it, but on the property. And I like that addition from town council. See if I can keep going.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I have
Mr.
one
Pendleton.
question. Would it be appropriate to have language in there that allows the short-term rental homeowner to have regulations greater than the town, but not less than the town?
Oh, they can.
They can?
Yeah,
We
I
don't
mean-
need to say that.
There's no, we don't need to tell them that. They can set their own rules. They could say, I'm not renting to more than 2 people regardless of whether I have a 6-person occupancy. They can set those types
Okay.
of things.
Thank you.
Important to know.
What you'll see here is a lot of places peppered within the last draft was places where we wanted certain information to be included on the listing. And to avoid it being lost in the shuffle, I could just combined it all into one particular location here. So it's the same information, really, it's just been moved around into this one particular area. So what we're really looking for is trying to help with that cross-referencing of what's going on. What's the maximum occupancy and how is it actually being listed? So we're requiring that rental listings, advertisement, and booking platforms include the town-issued rental occupancy certificate number. Also includes the Department of Revenue short-term rental certificate number. And we're also going to require that to be included on the application process. So you're not going to be able to move forward with a town rental certificate until you put in your DOR number. I looked it up, it's super easy, someone can get one instantly.
2 minutes.
So they could turn around and do it and then come back and put it right in. So it's not going to hold anybody up, but it will guarantee that they have that DOR certificate number and that we will be getting the excise taxes to the town. We also want to be clear what identify the maximum number of cars a property can accommodate, so people fully understand you can only bring 4 cars here if you're staying overnight, and that you can't have also overnight parking from 11 to 7. And then also being clear that the maximum occupancy is the occupancy that's set by the building or health department, and it doesn't relate to the number of sleeping and the number of sleeping spaces needs to match that. A lot of times you'll go in there and say it sleeps 9, but the occupancy is only 6. So this is a case where you need to be listing the occupancy, not how many places you have, or sofa beds, or whatever, that you could accommodate additional people. One other thing that I did notice from the data that we received from Mr. Ray was that there was multiple one-night occupancies in that data. And we have a minimum 2-night stay. So I would suggest adding the 6th item there, minimum 2-night stay. So that people know that when they're booking it, you can't book it for one night, because we don't want a different person each night coming. We want at least a couple nights for someone to come and say that. So a minimum of 2-night stay. It looked like
Whether
2-night
that's gonna
stays
be
were pretty
enforceable.
popular with 3 and 4 also.
Kathy, how would that be enforceable?
I think if you have it in a listing, most people will do it. And the lister, the short-term rental person, should know that I'm required to rent for a minimum of 2 nights because it's a requirement of my rental certificate. And if they don't do it and we become aware of it, then that's a valid violation that can go documented with regard to revocation of their certificate.
And then we could leave the 14-day max in, too. Follow the
I think
same
this
line.
one's easier than the 14 days to follow. I just do.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Peter. I think it's going to be tough to enforce, Madam Chair and Kath, but I don't have any problem with it being in there. I just think it's going to be one of those things that we're putting something in there that's going to be difficult to enforce.
My
It's already in
comment
the
there would be,
bylaw.
if we don't have it in there, then we can't enforce it. If it's not
No,
there,
that's
we
what
can't
I'm-
enforce
That's
it.
what I'm saying, Tom. I'm not saying not to put it in.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's going to be difficult to enforce.
I know,
That's-
I agree. But
I think there'll be some pushback from folks that, gonna look at it.
It's in there already. It's in the bylaw now.
In our sunset clause bylaw, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Minimum of 2 nights?
It's 2 nights, man. It is 2 nights, but
We
again,
tried, have there been any attempt to enforce it, or any?
No.
no.
And I think a lot of the things that we're going to take questions later. I think a lot of the things that we're finding is that people need to be educated. And I think there's a lot of other things that we're going to be looking at in order to help educate the public with regard to short-term rentals. And I think having this clearly identified as to what it is on the listings and what they're supposed to be doing, and here's the bylaw, here's the general bylaw you need to follow, will be very helpful. You're not going to get 100% compliance. You're never going to get 100%. We don't have 100% compliance. Probably all of us have something we're not in compliance with and we just don't know about it. If people become aware of it, then they're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize, and then they start doing it.
So you're suggesting, Kathy, there would, number 6 under rental listings, that there would be a minimum of a 2-night stay.
It's already in there. I'm just saying that they need to include that on their listing, that you can't book it for less than 2 nights.
So it's already in the zoning bylaw.
Yes, it's under 418
So when the zoning bylaw becomes the general bylaw, it would just carry over?
It is already in here. It says duration under general provisions. Renting for less than 2 consecutive nights is prohibited. That's been in there since 2022. I'm just saying, put that on your listing.
Oh, I'm,
Better chance of
of
getting
course.
compliance.
Advertisement, I get it,
Right.
sorry.
Not changing any.
Yeah,
It's fine, Kath.
yeah, that's fine.
I'll word it to match that, but yeah.
Okay, sorry about
So
that.
that's what I was trying to get at. All right, hang on. I think town council, Mark said, not supported by the police. They're going to be involved, so it needs to say, and the police department. Town council had a couple issues with just clarifications, just notifying that, yeah, you're in violation, notification in violation, with the first one just being a warning. That's our typical process to everybody. And then if after a warning, they may, change from shall to may. Issuing a ticket is a good tool to have, but it's not something you want to be forced to use, because it can be very time-consuming on staff's part in order to collect that, as well as people go to court and then it gets overturned and we don't even get the money anyway. And meanwhile, we had to send a guy to the court for that. So it's a tool that gets people's attention sometimes, but I don't want to make it a requirement, and Mark doesn't want to make it a requirement. So that's the difference between the shall and the may. And that's the last of the changes.
Okay, why don't we do this? Kathy, would you prefer to just go through your registration table with Mark so we could understand that? Or should we have the public join us in this discussion on this part?
We could certainly, it's going to be hard for people to see.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, sorry. But I think what you can see is it has the certificate number, the address, it has the status, whether it's active, meaning the application's in, but it hasn't been completed, the certificate, the date the certificate was issued. Sometimes you have a separate applicant, and so we have the applicant and the email that's separate from the property owner, where you have the property owner's information as well as their address and email. And
So this is all public information, because when I first got this email, I was like, wow, that's a lot of information for a lot of people.
Well, it's public now.
Well,
Well,
that's what I was,
Public now.
that's what I was
And-
asking.
Yeah.
is
Yes.
I didn't know if that
This is new.
kosher. No, I just didn't
Oh,
know
no,
that you
it's
could
public
just
now.
take people's information and just,
If we need it
It's
for a public
allowed,
meeting?
it's allowed
Right, okay.
by
I know, I'm
Mass
just-
General Law, Chapter 64G. We actually state that in the registration inspection, and this has been in the original one, that the town
I
reserves.
just wanted to say that on behalf of people that might have been surprised to see this much personal data in a planning board packet, of which I was one. That's all. There's hundreds
Reserves
of
the right
people's
to post
stuff.
rental locations and contact information on the town website,
Okay, thank you.
and that's allowed in Mass General Law.
Okay.
We might want to narrow it down. That's certainly fine. I think we can also, there's also a column we can add for the occupancy, so people can understand what that is. So I don't know whether this goes anywhere or what, but I think there's been some questions of people about wanting to know more information about a short-term rental in their neighborhood.
How many are there on this list?
776.
So and the state said, our short-term, the study we had done said there were 1,500?
That's the number of people who have registered at some point with DOR and may not have removed themselves from that. So, yeah, I think it was 1,500.
Once you, Madam Chair, once you
Yes.
register with DOR, your listing stays in DOR's rolls in this town, in this zip code forever. Whether you're renting or not, you can petition to have it removed with DOR because you're no longer doing it, but unless you do that, it's in the rolls. So that's probably where they're getting their numbers, why it doesn't jive with these numbers.
Right.
So 700 active or active and complete?
Active and complete.
Active means they haven't actually picked up their, what is,
The application has not been completed, which typically means the rental certificate has not been issued.
so they haven't paid for it yet then either? or-
Oh, I'm sure they paid for it,
Okay.
yeah. It's
Something-
either the inspection hasn't been scheduled yet, or they had an issue and they need to fix something and they need to inspect again.
Madam Chair, I have a question. I see this is from October 1st of '25 until about last week. I couldn't figure out how this spreadsheet was sorted.
It's,
I couldn't figure out, it's not alphabetical, it's
No.
not by record number, it's not by street address. I couldn't figure it
it's
out.
based on how OpenGov spit
Spits
it out.
Right.
We could filter it anyway.
Well, I only meant because it might be beneficial to maybe sort it by address.
But they're going to be 70.
code,
It's going to be
I don't know.
78 bippity-boo. It's going to be 78 Captain Noyce.
Oh, sorry, right,
78
because that's one field. It's not, they're not separate
It's not
fields.
separate.
Right.
Okay, I guess what I'm struggling with, and this is again, this is a state database.
This is our
the town.
data.
I mean,
This is
Sorry,
our- this
so
is
our
our
database
data.
doesn't-
Allows us
our
to make
database doesn't
public.
parse addresses by multiple fields. Holy smokes. I guess what I'm suggesting is, this is amazing data, but it's also put a lot of people in a position where
You have to look.
you can't do much with it. And so I think it would be a reasonable thing to say to the nice people that run this for the town, that there could be a better way of doing it, even if it's just by zip code to start.
Well, there is zip code. I mean, you can sort by zip code.
Well, but you just said it's all one field. It just addresses one field.
The address is one field, but they do it. There's another column that you may not have been on here, but you can.
I'm so sorry. It is over there. Sorry. But of course, because it's the state of Massachusetts, all the zeros are gone.
Yeah, that was my mistake.
That's a spreadsheet.
That was my mistake.
Okay, so if we could, okay,
But yeah, no, and literally, they tell you South Yarmouth.
of data,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
don't have, there's no organization to it at all.
No.
Well, but we're also trying to get to a discussion that has, a common starting place and some common rationality, and I find this, and again, this is not a commentary on the ability of our staff. I think you know how much I respect our staff. It's just-
OpenGov.
It's irrational to look at this with 700 entries and have no organization. It doesn't lend itself to a rational discussion when the data itself is irrational. And so I think at some point it would make sense to pick a field that makes the most sense. I'm going to guess it's zip code,
Yep.
if not mailing address, because, well, not mailing address. No. And not address.
Not even zip code, that's the zip code of the mailing address of the
person.
owner.
So it's not the street address.
I think there is another field that I didn't show that could get you by zip code. Or you could just, I mean, again, even the owner name, it's not like the last person's name, it's going to be the first person.
We can talk more about this when we're not in the
Mark might
middle
have
of
some
the meeting.
input.
I
He
just
knows
find this
OpenGov.
really difficult.
I'm going to ask the building commissioner, Mark
Madam Chair, if I
Grills.
might, the document you're looking at is an Excel spreadsheet that was created, we threw a bunch of stuff together for this meeting. Can it be fine-tuned? Possibly. But if you have a question about a specific address, you can go to the town's website, to the online services, and you can look up a specific address, and it has all of that information in their application that's online. So you can look in the health department, look up the rental certificate, and you can get all that information in the rental certificate.
That is all public.
It's all public.
Okay, right,
Correct.
but that's at a very low to the ground level. But we're here as a board trying to have a conversation 20,000 feet off the ground. And this is not 20,000 feet off the ground. This is just a big pile of data.
But
And
right, and that's why I sent the Excel spreadsheet out too. But you can sort by, what I was trying to get at when I was doing this is, how many people own more than one short-term rental? I can sort, so everything in the owner column that has somebody's highlighted in red, Excel will do that for you. And then I realized, like, oh, well, how many people have more than one application? And Del Mar does not apparently do any applications, but there was one, the Josh Order Grove Island Ocean Club. They did there's a bunch in the radio area, the Radio City, what I call like the TV and the radio. And they just do it all, and they just do it that way. So they actually do applicants. Everybody else, even Del Mar, they're just, the owner's doing it. The owner's doing it. So this, if you don't,
Thank you,
this is
Mark.
not necessarily something that you don't want on the town website, that's perfectly fine, but this does have a lot of value to kind of identify. And I also could sort how many LLCs do we have, how many trusts do we have, and that's where I came up with the data in the email.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'm happy to talk about this with Kathy and Mark offline and not
Okay.
take up more of our valuable time. Thank you.
Any other questions about this? It's a first shot at trying to see where the rentals are and how many are multiple and where they are and whether the owners have completed their applications. And I see that one owner has not completed an application, who is prominent in the community comments that we received. So at some point, we will be talking about that, 176 Beacon Street. I see on the record that that is still active and that it is not a completed permit. And I know some of you are here, or maybe here, with regard to that. We've received a letter, a couple of letters on that particular piece of property. Yeah, it is, it's a lot of lines to run through, I agree.
It's data to analyze, and I'd be happy, we can run it any way you'd
Yep,
like.
we'll talk more about it.
But I agree with
Sure.
you, it's not like for the average person trying to say, look for their neighbor's address. I think Mark's point is very well taken, and maybe those instructions on how to do that could be put on the health department regulations. Interested in knowing if there's a short-term rental in your neighborhood, this is how you do it.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Okay. Any other comments on the spreadsheet or draft 9? Okay. I'd like to go to members of the public who are here this evening. Thank you again for coming. Would anyone like to speak? If you will, I'd like to ask you to use this microphone. The podium one is obviously not in working order. We've received some public comments from David Witter, Donna Witter, John Ray. What's the most recent one, Kathy? Mary Kosis. I
And Pat-
apologize.
And Pat Tilley.
I apologize for the mispronunciation. And
Pat Tilley was the last one.
Oh, Pat Tilley. And again, more from Mary Kosis. So if any of you would like to speak, we'd be more than willing and glad to hear what you have to say, or others. But if you've sent us information, some of you have gone to great lengths to provide a lot of data to us. We appreciate that. We don't need to go through it this evening, but it would be helpful to just have you relate to us the most important elements of your
Latin lawns for rentals.
of your comments. A name and address would be, and the microphone needs to be a little closer. Thank you.
Okay. I'm David Witter. I live on Beacon Street, 175. I have a newly formed, across the street, okay, short-term rental. It is my understanding that it hasn't been inspected. It continues to house guests, even as of yesterday. No one in the town would have even known it existed until we sent a letter to the building department. Right, and I'm actually here because I don't want any short-term rentals. Okay, and I will quickly tell you why. Okay, I heard at the select persons meeting there the other week, okay, there was a gentleman that gave a presentation and he talked about population and stuff like that. Okay, the town is losing population. Okay? One of the reasons the town is losing population is there's no houses for people to buy either or to rent. Okay? Short-term rentals kill neighborhoods. Okay? No one knows their neighbor. Okay? If you want to save the town, okay, the way to quickly do it is eliminate short-term rentals and have those people rent for a year where somebody can come into town and establish themselves, possibly buy the house, and build slowly. My wife and I will get absolutely no benefit from this short-term rental that's across the street from us. We live in a residential neighborhood, okay? We have children that play, that we have seniors that walk their dogs and grandbabies and stuff, okay? This is the only first attempt at putting in a corporate business in a residential area. Contrary to what the owner has said, she lives in Connecticut and has no intention, even though she's told everybody up and down that she plans on living here. She's already had how many? A month and a half of rentals, okay? And every third time, she ups the price. She's up to over $600 a night now, okay?
Wow.
If we hadn't said something about it, you wouldn't even have known about it to collect the hotel tax or whatever it is, the category that you would put that in, you know? But again, okay, last winter, when I walked down Astor Way and down towards Raymond, I looked at how many empty houses that are owned by somebody, okay, that are probably used for rentals during the summer, okay, but it kills, you know, there's 2 or 3 in a row. You know, what happens when there's nothing but short-term rentals? Think the town's going to grow? Not going to happen. It's going to go the other way. Okay. Tracy talked about, says the more and more I see, she says, we're not a town now. We're trying to be a city. So you've lost what was great about Yarmouth. It shouldn't have happened. Okay. This is a gorgeous area. Okay. I found it through my parents that had a timeshare at the Ocean Club there next to Bass River Beach. Okay, I still have it because we use the beach all the time over there. Private, a little more convenient. Okay. My daughter met her husband over there. Okay, now we have every June we have a huge family reunion. Okay, the place, it's wonderful. There's things to see here. Okay, and of course, like I like to say to anybody when they ask me why I moved to Cape Cod is a collection of small towns, but it's only for a little while. Once you set foot in any of them, you're part of that community. We don't want to lose that. And yet with these short-term rentals, people come in, they're here 3, 4, 5, 6 days, and they're gone. You may never see them again. That's no way to have a village, a town. You want people to stay in your homes here, okay? I can't stress it enough, okay, that you gotta change the way you're thinking. This is just going to get worse. With all the recommendations that you're hearing from Beacon Hill, you know, I looked through that 89-page commentary that was sent, okay, and I was flabbergasted. Okay, there was never any thought about the people that live here daily, not one. we're not gonna get any benefit out of it. There's nothing. We won't even get a reduction in taxes. Our taxes will probably go up because of it. In addition, okay, the value of our home may actually go down because nobody wants to live right next to a short-term rental. Okay, I've said my piece.
Appreciate your comments, Mr. Wood.
Okay,
Thank you.
for
Thank you for
listening.
coming. We appreciate your letter.
I
And
do
as-
have a second letter I would like to admit to.
Okay, Kathy will take that. Thank you.
Those chairs want to knock you down. I trip over them all the time.
Klutz in general anyway.
We
They were
appreciate
going
you
for you.
taking the time. Anyone else?
Can I ask Mr. Witter a question?
Yeah, certainly.
Mr. Witter, do you think the bylaw that we went over tonight would help your situation if it was followed? Would it?
No, because the biggest problem you got is.
Table, or else.
Yeah, you-
If you
Mr.
could
Witter,
get-
would you please come back to the
to
table? Sorry, just for the benefit of
A
the,
little bit new to this.
it's not you, it's us, and also for the nice people at home and then the rest of time on
I
YouTube.
appreciate that. I don't think it would really help because you can have any number of regulations, but until you get somebody to come along and make sure people adhere to it, like the timeshare across the street, okay? She did all that. She's got a website out there that's advertising it, okay? And the first we learned about it was, wait a minute, why are all these cars showing up here? Okay, and she had a birthday party, which is another thing. I think your numbers are too high on stuff like that. You know, when you talked about parking and stuff. I don't want 10, 12 cars parked in front of my house. That street becomes very narrow when you got parking on both sides of the street. We don't have street lights. We don't have sidewalks. You know, I mean, we're lacking in a lot of comforts that some properties have, but that's okay, you know. We love living there, okay? But at some point, whether you're gonna have anybody else moving into the town is, you know, they're just gonna, I grant it's a moneymaker. She's making money hand over fist, okay? But it's at our expense, the people that live here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
you.
And anyone else in the public? Yes, please. Just your name and address.
Hi, my name is Sandy Cashin. I live on 10 Monomoy Road, which is in the same neighborhood, just a street ahead. I've been living in that neighborhood for 43 years, and this has been a problem with others. There are other rentals, short-term rentals, that are not on that list that I could see. How do we enforce that? I don't know. But it is, the other day, they had 10 cars out in the road with bicycles going all along. There's only one way in and one way out of that neighborhood. So if there's ever a fire or anything and all these cars are on the side of the road, it's going to be a problem for all of us in that neighborhood. So I don't know how we enforce it or whatever, but that was a private neighborhood when I first moved in. There was an association that we couldn't even put up clotheslines. So it's changed, and it's really sad.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, could I just ask you to, there is a way for you to call, right? There's a way to make a complaint.
Yes, you can call the health department and notify us, and then we'll get somebody over there.
Yeah. So it's okay to do that. It is okay to do that. Not that
But
Mark
when people,
Mark-
when we're not driving around looking for short-term rentals, how do you identify them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
The fire
that-
department
it-
doesn't drive around looking for smoke. So, you know, if we get a report, we act on the report. If we don't hear about it, there's no way for us to enforce it.
No, there's no way for the building department and the health department to know. So that we ask the public to, you know, if there are issues in your neighborhood, to reach out. And there will be a response. There will be a response.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
is reaching out a phone call, or do they have to submit a form and sign it? Send it in?
Mark, is it simply a phone call?
One of the things,
Yes.
oh,
Sure.
Hi, Donna Witter. 175 Beacon Street. I didn't buy my house in a community that was going to have a business. And I don't think that this is a just for us. The people of the neighborhood have no input on what can be there. We had a babysitting service, wanted to, out of her home, and that was approved. We had no problem with that. We were asked if we had a problem with that. And I think it should be up to the community to decide whether we, just because you buy a home or a house, doesn't make it a home. You're renting it out. You know, we depend upon our neighbors. We all come together, we all try to meet and take care of each other. We have people coming in and out. My one question is she legal right now renting if she's not been inspected?
Again, I would ask,
Technically, no.
Well,
Somebody's not doing their job.
she is. In and out, in and out. When I came over here on the 3rd and reported it, I got a call from the health department on the 6th that she was notified, but she's still renting. Now, I don't know what he said to her, but that shouldn't be allowed. And if she comes into my community with a dead end here and a dead end here, and she sets up shop, what good is that for us? That does nothing for us. And now we have people coming and going and coming and going. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that we don't get a say in what our neighborhood wants to be. And I don't want this to go through. The inspection is supposed to be the end of August. And I'll fight it tooth and nail because I don't want it. I didn't buy a house across from a B&B. And when I sell my house, it's going to depreciate because of it. I put too much money into it, and I'm not going to do that. So you guys, somehow, you all need to get together and make rules that she's got this thing up for rent for 9 people to 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay? It's not a 3-bedroom like she's got it listed for 9 people. There's only 2 bedrooms, and she's got another room, she made a bedroom, not a bedroom. Parties, you can have up to 20 guests. In her verbo, this is what she's got listed. Now, I know the health department should probably correct it all, because he told me she can't have parties at all. And she can't have parking on the street whatsoever. We are not posted, but he said, if you have a problem, you call the cops. And they have to remove them.
See, which is different than what you guys just said.
Right, so-
We were talking about it.
That's, and trying,
I don't,
yeah, about the,
yeah, I mean, you as a resident can park on the street if you want to, and a short-term rental can park on the street except for from 11 to 7. So no overnight on-street parking. And that's what the bylaw says. I think what you're saying is we need to catch up with this particular person. I think there's always going to be short-term rental owners who need a lot more attention and a lot more education than others, and it sounds like this person might be one of those people. I do want to emphasize that we have added in the general bylaw the ability to revoke someone's certificate of occupancy for up to 2 years. So there are real consequences to not paying attention to the rules. And we do need input from you guys, because we are not out there all the time. Our eyes are not into the community like yours are. So if there's a problem, we need to hear about it.
well,
And
you
we
just
also-
heard it, because
Yeah, and we just,
I'm really outraged to think that this person comes into my community, disrupts the senior citizens there that walk the streets, and the kids that ride their bikes. and not have a say in my own community. That somebody, an outsider from Connecticut, can come here and buy a house and have more superiority than the needs of the people in the community, in any community in Cape Cod. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms.
Thank
Swider.
you.
I would like to point out, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Mark about this, but I did talk to Marcel in the Communications Department, and they can work up pretty easily with Civic Plus. We're going to work on a short-term rental online complaint form, so people can do that, and then the complaint would then go to an email address, whatever email address we insert in there, so that you would be able to do that. And it's easier for us to track it when we have it in that particular way. So we're trying to do other things, as well as trying to work up that Good Neighbor one page that can be provided to not only to the short-term rental owner, but also in the rental itself, that just says certain things about what's required, like the ban on the overnight parking and things like that, so that people are fully educated on the rules and the regulations. So we have some work to do outside of the bylaw to help with some of these things, and we've been listening to you guys and trying to do that. But I think that whether the town of Yarmouth has short-term rentals or not is not necessarily something that the planning board decides. It's something that the Board of Selectmen would have to say, we don't want short-term rentals in our community. I do want to emphasize that it does bring income to the town. FY '26, it was like $2.375 million, and 75% of that goes to our wastewater program, which is to help clean up our estuaries and our drinking water, and making sure that we have a place environmentally where people want to live. So if that income wasn't there, then you would need to find it some other way. So whether that's through taxes or something else. So I just want to say there's other things that we are looking at that might help educate people, as well as get the information, the issues to us faster.
Madam Chair, could I
Yes.
follow up on that? Kathy, is it possible you could put this slide back up on the screen for a second? Because I just wanted to follow up on the last two comments. So they were pretty clear that they said that they don't like short-term rentals in the town of Yarmouth, period, right? That's what I heard. And so I just wanted to make it clear that there is a mechanism for you, and specifically, if you look at the right side, I think it's fair to talk about this for a minute. If this general bylaw fails, that's the first place that you can make your voice heard at special town meeting in terms of just the general issue, big picture, whether you want short-term rentals or not. Because if you follow the flow chart, then it goes down to number 3, which is a discussion to extend the sunset clause. So if you're really opposed to short-term rentals, period, none, no thank you, as you discussed, then you would follow the right side of that flow chart. And you would try your best for special town STR Article 1 to fail, and then go down to number 3, and then have that fail as well. Because if it fails, then the sunset clause sunsets.
I would just point out that.
Unless I have it wrong, in which case
Absolutely
you can
correct.
I could revoke what I just said, but I don't think I do.
But then our budget would have a $2.375 million deficit.
No, I get
We
that.
would have to come up with some way, which would either be through increasing taxes through an override and/or cutting services significantly.
I get all that. I just think it's important to say, it's one thing to say, I don't want
Downside.
short-term rentals. I'm just trying to point out, well, this is the way, legally, it's not going to end up in terms of being decided in this group. It's not going to end up being decided at a select board meeting, but it will be decided at a town meeting, hopefully in November, one way or the other. So I just wanted to point that out because you were very clear about not liking it at all.
I understand that, okay? I think the part that you may have overlooked is we're not opposed to having rentals, okay? Because we want some of those people that rent a home, okay? We want them to be here for a year, though. okay?
You want a year-round
You will
rental.
still collect some money from those people.
Not an excise tax, no.
Not short-term rental tax.
No.
No.
You do not, no, we do not.
I apologize, Madam Chair, if I opened up a can of worms, but I also wanted to follow
That's
up
okay.
on what this couple had pointed out. That there is a mechanism outside this group
Appreciate it.
for you to go where you want to go.
Well, that, it
I
it
have
is,
that picture home.
Okay.
On my,
it is, the town meeting is the legislative body. We are not.
I
We are not.
understand.
Okay.
But I just, somebody's got to realize that the road you're going down is filled with potholes.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you, Mr. Willett.
Madam Chair, most of these issues seem to be enforcement issues, you
Yes.
know, and a couple months ago, it came up that Kathy had mentioned, oh, we don't have the funds, it's a new fiscal year, but 2.375, I mean, Mark or the Health Department should be able to hire somebody that's dedicated to dealing with just these issues. I mean, there seem to be enough of them. So, I mean, maybe it's the selectmen hearing that.
Yeah,
support-
maybe that's one of the recommendations. I think we did this already in 2022.
We did
when
get one new
yes,
inspector,
we
Mark,
made the
right?
recommendation that they needed an additional housing inspector. And maybe when we present this to the select board again, we can make
Say,
that
"We need
additional,
another one."
saying, you know, there's enough issues here that we want to make sure that they can be addressed in an effective manner without overloading current staff. So that's an excellent suggestion.
It's also the public, I think, going to the selectmen meeting and demanding that
They hire.
find coverage and hire.
Right.
Yeah, there's the-
Budget season, I mean, so make it ask.
Find the money's in there somewhere.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about hiring somebody for the next rest of this fiscal year, whatever it is. So it's, don't say it's not there.
Anyone,
Yes, there is someone online, but I didn't know if you wanted to make one last call.
is anyone in, yes, sir?
You have to come up, sorry.
Yes, Madam Chair, when you were done with the room, there is someone online, but when we're done, and you say so.
I'm gonna get crucified because my wife is gonna kill me, but
You haven't said anything
somebody
yet.
cover my back, please. Hi, I'm Don Sperance, 16 Tanglewood Drive, West Yarmouth.
Your name again, sir?
Donald Richard Sperance, for the record. I'd like to tag along on a few things that have already been said, but, and I've heard requests for eliminating short-term rentals. I myself would at least like the town to look at at least limiting the number of short-term rentals. And part of that has to do with the discussion about community. When we moved in, we had a really nice community, nice to circle, great neighbors. We still have some great neighbors, but a lot of them have moved on, the old timers. They've passed away, they've gone to nursing home, whatever. And people have come in and bought up those as Airbnbs, short rentals. We're losing the neighborhood. We're losing the neighborhood. We're losing the, and a lot of these people, they don't respect the neighborhood. These houses are empty during the wintertime. And some of them are not empty because these people that have short-term rentals, well, some house, they rent to somebody during the winter. They may not get the same amount of money, but I'm sure that they're not declaring that money as rental. And we had one down the street where I don't know how many times the police were there, ambulances were there, medical emergencies. This is what's happening to neighborhoods. When the summertime comes, these absentee landlords are not around. I shouldn't be having to pick up trash that's blowing from somebody's dumpsters that they don't have enough, and it's just blowing. We have a lot of dog walkers, elderly people, kids on the street. They're very respectful. All of a sudden, we've got short-term rentals. I'm picking up their trash. I'm picking up dog crap, which we never see, but people are very respectful. You know, and speeding. I mean, I shouldn't have some guy speeding by my house, which is on a little curve, at, I don't know how fast, very rapidly in a pickup truck, and I yell, slow down. He backs up and tells me to fuck off. That shouldn't be happening, okay? I mean, that's not the neighborhood. You're not in the city doing whatever you want to do in the city, wherever you live, okay? It's respect for the neighborhood. And having a nice place to live. I heard about the $2.35 million to help with the water quality because that's where we want, you know, people that live here. Well, we're losing those people. We're not having those people live here. They're moving out. And I hear talk about affordable housing. We have to build more affordable housing. Well, part of that is because these homes are being bought up by people with big money, and the people that want to live here can't afford those homes because they're being taken off the market for short-term rentals. So, again, I would like to see the town at least look at limiting short-term rentals, just for that purpose. And But again, I mean, it's not going to solve our problem. We're stuck with it. We got a lot of empty houses. We've got absentee landlords. But that's the nature of the beast right now. So that's from our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And you didn't get stabbed in the back by anybody? Your wife didn't stab you in the back? Oh, okay.
She doesn't get me this guy well.
We do,
Can I comment on?
yes, certainly, Mr. Slovak.
We paid $75,000 for that short-term rental study.
Yep.
And up to an hour ago, we thought there were 1,500. Now there's half that number.
No, they were very clear that the DOR said 1,500, but we, from the health department, I think it was 900. So it was never the same. It was never
They
the same.
used 1,500 in that report, right?
We used both numbers in that report.
Right, so 900 is still more. So
Right.
I'm kind of surprised that there's quite a few less, but we still have the same number of problems.
Well, DOR, you don't drop off. If you decide you don't want to rent, you stay on that list
Oh, I
forever.
understand that, but the 1,500 number was
Yeah.
one that we were talking about. Are we going to put a cap in place? Are we going to limit the number?
Right.
The selectmen said, no, we're not going to do that, and there's no problems. So we'll just not put a cap on it.
I think one of the,
Not to renew, you fall off the list, you still rent as well.
That's correct.
Right.
yep.
There's a lot of those.
What, I'd like to go to the,
Can I just make one point?
Sure, Kathy.
As Peter was talking about the study, I think one of the things that was very interesting that came out of the UMass Donahue short-term rental study was that the percentage of seasonal housing in our community, that's the percentage that's not the full-time residents, has been pretty consistent over multiple decades at 30%. So we haven't seen like a recent, we haven't gone from 30% seasonal housing to 50% seasonal housing, and all of that got eaten up with short-term rentals. So I think that was one of the things that sounded as though a lot of people who are purchasing have a seasonal home, maybe a few more of those are doing short-term rentals, but the percentage of housing that's being taken out of the year-round housing market really wasn't changing over the past decades. Because that was one of the things the study wanted to look at, how are short-term rentals impacting year-round housing? And the fact that our seasonal housing is staying relatively same with regard to the percentage of housing that we have. Obviously, housing has increased in the last few decades as well, but the percentage is relatively stable.
yeah, that was an important thing that that we recognized. And it was, they went back several decades. And so it's been pretty steady. There's been more, obviously, as Kathy said, there's been more houses built in Yarmouth, but the percentage of them that are seasonal have stayed at around the 1/3, 30%.
Would that be single-family homes only, or would that be, I mean, there's some big complexes, are they counted as a home? And so, yes, there would be a lot more of them, but a lot of these single-family homes are
We-
kind of ones that are Airbnbs.
I see your point, yeah. I think it's all residential dwelling units. So,
And- Mr. Nicanello?
Yes, Madam Chair, Tom Nicanello, Precinct 3. Thank you very much, you and the board and staff, for these marathon meetings. You know, they're very important to our community so we can come together and work out these differences and communicate effectively to the people that are willing to hear us and hopefully can change. I did have just a little concern with 418.5 regarding the one owner. And I'd like to thank again our building commissioner, who is always present and always willing to take concerns as long as same as the town planner. They are there 5 days a week, 8:30 to 4:30. A community works together when everyone is notified. So with that, I'd just like to say the excellent work on your list of the applications. I did filter through it, and I did happen to notice, and I'd like to share, is that out of the 22 people that own more than one, just about over half live in the Commonwealth, and I think that's extremely important. I think a little less than a dozen live right here in our community, which I think is extremely important. And there's a few that live outside the Commonwealth. And I believe in some of our previous meetings we had talked about if the short-term rental owner was in a local area, then that would probably help with some of these concerns. So if we have maybe a dozen people in our community that have short-term rentals, I mean, to me, I think that's something good. We can work with these people. They're here when they need to answer a call from a neighbor or whatever have you, the building commissioner. And, you know, going back to my point, just that one, maybe you can tell me what benefit does the town have by limiting it just to one owner, and maybe not just two. I mean, if we were going to go up to two, I think that would work. But what does the town get if we just limit it to one owner? Can anybody answer that, Madam Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Nicanello. I think what we've been trying to do here is a bit of a balancing act in listening to the public. And enforcement is an issue, and it's one of the primary issues that we've had. And so one of the ways that we're suggesting this moves is that it be only one owner, or one unit, one home, that in the future, that could be a short-term rental. It's a bit of a balancing act. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah,
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think, you know, it really touches on one of the things that's been brought out and was just brought out about limiting the number of short-term rentals by limiting the number of ownership that people can have, certainly by attrition, will limit the amount of short-term rentals, hopefully, with limiting it to one owner.
And Mr. Pilston?
One other comment, and I think it goes back.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry. I hate these things. It goes back to, I think, a couple of things that you folks said. If you limit it to one, then at least it brings back more housing stock that could be used for year-round purposes for, you know, owners to own them and live in them, or a year-round rental for somebody who wants to live here but can't afford to buy a house. So it helps in that regard.
And we're, obviously, the way that we've crafted this is that people who have more than one now, Mr. Nicanello, are grandmothered.
Yes, I did see that, Madam Chair, and thank you. And thank you to the board members for that. You know, again, back to my point, in the data that was collected, we have just about a dozen people in town that have one or more rental, short-term rental, and I believe that's an asset to the community and the neighborhoods when we have a person that lives within our community and knows the neighborhood and knows what kind of people to rent to. Some of these other people that don't live within our Commonwealth, they don't know the neighborhood and they just don't pick the right tenant. So again, I don't understand why we're limiting it and you know, forcing it down to one, when to me it shows that, you know, people do have more than one, and if they live in the community, they're probably better off to pick the right tenant for the community. So with that, I'll let you get back to work. Thank you.
So if I understand you, Mr. Nicanello, you're suggesting that there be some exception for a resident of the town of Yarmouth to have more than one?
Well, I would think, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak and you having this meeting. I mean, if someone lives within our 17,000 acres that we have, they pretty much know the community that they bought this investment in. And they're gonna know that if the right person goes in there, then the neighborhood is gonna actually keep being a neighborhood. But if they don't know the neighborhood and they just stick anybody in there, I think we've all seen what happens, and we're living that. You know, this is something that, as our town planner just pointed out, makes us money and saves our residents money for the sewer project that we're gonna be living with for 4 generations. I mean, I would prefer that, if you would like, yeah, to have a Yarmouth resident, you know, go up to maybe 2. And then, you know, I would think it makes sense to me that the neighborhood's gonna get a better fit because of that person knows our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Niconello.
I do think the reason we had settled on one is more of the traditional ownership of a seasonal unit where the people who own it may use it some time of the year and they may rent it out as a short-term rental to get some income. If you have more than that, then that's a business for you and you're creating a business short-term rental, and we wanted to try and nip that in the bud. So that's why we ended up going back to the one. But we didn't want to punish people who had already made investments in our community.
Any other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Ray. I own 47 Webster here in West Yarmouth. I think it was the subject of some conversation a few weeks ago. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm the one who wrote the tome that was submitted, and my wife says I talk too much, so I'll try to be brief. I bought the house at Webster 2 years ago with my wife. It was kind of a falling apart house. We fixed it up. We rent it out. Sometimes we stay there. Sometimes we rent it out more than we stay there. I hope that changes as our kids get older, but traveling's hard. I want to start by, to the people that were in my community. There was a party a few weeks ago. I want to apologize to all of you. I don't know how many of them are here, if any of them are the 3 people on Zoom, and the thousands more that will watch on YouTube. It drove me crazy. I'm sure it drove them crazy. So I want to, apologize to them in person. I won't repeat everything that I wrote in my submission.
Oh, please don't. We can read. That's one thing we're really good at. And if we don't understand it, we go right to Kathy and she explains everything.
And I'm available by email, so
or we'll call you and ask you.
But I do believe that regulations are good and important. I think that the key to having a functioning short-term rental marketplace and working with its community is working together. I don't agree with the Robert Frost, good fences make good neighbors. I think that it's important for the short-term rental people to be part of that community. And so, I'd like my neighbors to be able to call me if they have any issues or anything like that. But I do think that drawing the lines is important so that people know what is okay and what is not okay. And so I think that you guys have done a very good job of that. I know that someone talked about tighter restrictions. I think that my restrictions are much tighter than a lot of the rules here. But sometimes in different instances it might not be. And so your job is to make rules that can function for all of the community. And sometimes that means doing things that might work in some instances and not others. Corporate ownership was on my list. It seems that that's been jettisoned. I think that's the right move. I think that makes a lot of sense. The parking issue, I have no problem with street parking. I think that makes sense. If the people are having problems with parking, sure, limit the street parking. It's the regulating the parking that's in a short-term rental that doesn't make much sense to me. And having a max on the number of cars or having the Board of Health regulate, I just don't understand why it's necessary. Because if cars are parked in a driveway, how is that ruining anyone else's enjoyment of the area? But I do think that we should limit the amount that it's spilling over into the streets. I think that makes sense. In terms of occupancy, I know, Madam Chairman, that you talked about how this will be something for the Board of Health. The Board of Health seems to be required to enforce septic rules. That's, Yarmouth Bylaw 108-2 has them enforce the septic, or the sanitary code, the Massachusetts Sanitary Code. And my proposal is to apply the sanitary code to the short-term rental bylaws. We have this step in the middle where the Board of Health is trying to impose different occupancy regulations. There's one that has a mathematical formula that everyone can come up with. It's a bright line rule. Let's just apply that rule. Why do we need to have the Board of Health going and trying to determine, and maybe the Board of Health is the ultimate arbiter of whether or not the person's done the math correctly under the Massachusetts Sanitary Code, and I outlined that code there. I think that makes a lot more sense. It's easier for everyone to understand, and again, it's a clear rule for everyone to know what they should or should not be doing on both sides. And so I think that's the cleanest way to go. I talked through the statistics and why anything that limits occupancy hurts the town of Yarmouth. I'm not talking about an absurd increase in occupancy. This is an average of 2 people per rental, different than what the Board of Health's rule of thumb is. I don't think that's absurd. I think that that's and I outlined why limiting it is absurd in many ways, because it limits multi-generational families. Those are the people we want. We want people coming the same week every year, the same month every year, to give that sense of community more. We want to encourage those people and not encourage the, BU party that comes in, for a weekend. So I think that is the way that we should move on the occupancy front. I won't belabor the points there. And you read all about why I think that the things animating an occupancy limit, I don't think really hold water, and they're solved by other areas. I don't think that we need to have 3 or 4 overlapping provisions to regulate no parties. We can say, don't have parties, be quiet during these hours. That is what the police should be enforcing. Again, bright line rules, it's simple for everyone to understand, keep your music down after 11 o'clock. To that point, just a couple small things. Someone was talking about the 2-night stays, whether or not that's enforceable. I think that it's an easy setting on Airbnb or Vrbo. You guys could go and you can filter 1-night stays and see who's listing, and every single listing there would be in violation. Go, enforce it, find them, do whatever you need to do, but that's an easy way to do that. It's easily enforceable in that regard. Amplified music, there's a provision in there barring amplified music. I think that makes total sense. We should just set a decibel limit. That way people know if people are playing music, on a portable speaker, that's probably okay. If people have a big sound system that's 90 decibels, that's probably not okay. I think 90 decibels is like the sound of a loud party. I think that makes sense. But I'm not going to spitball decibels offhand. I don't know those. I think those are my overall comments. I'm happy to talk about anything else in my submission if any of it was clear as mud. But I tried to give you the data so you can look at it and see.
Yeah, we appreciate the amount of time you put together your response. We really do appreciate it. I'd like Kathy to just respond with, we talked about parking, and I think we're moving in a direction that would be acceptable to you, where we're not requiring a minimum number. We just don't want people parking on the lawn.
Sure.
We just don't want them parking on the lawn. But Kathy, with regard to occupancy, we don't have the planning board, and the zoning bylaw or the general bylaw simply doesn't have the authority to change Massachusetts general law. And Massachusetts general law governs occupancy. And our building commissioner, Mark Grills, is here. So that's why that's the only reference we make to occupancy is Massachusetts general law. So there is no number that we can put in there. Mr. Grills.
Madam Chair, septic systems are designed 110 gallons per bedroom. So when my staff goes out, they review the septic system that's been installed, and that septic system has been installed in accordance with Title V. So they are enforcing Title V regulations.
But the actual occupancy is governed by...
Beyond the
Sanitary
sleeping rooms,
Yeah, that's Massachusetts general law.
Sanitary code. It's the sanitary code. And
state
that's-
sanitary code, but for sleeping, it's for bedrooms.
Yeah.
That's the septic, yes.
Yeah.
But they do that now. It's not a rule of thumb of saying 2 per bedroom. They do if it's 70 square foot, then it's 1 person. If it's more than 150 square feet, it could be 3 people. So that's how they come up with the occupancy, and this is how they've always been doing it.
And that's
I
a
think I might
Title
have-
V regulation, though. It's not something we made up or we have it written on our own books. It's state Title V regulation.
I might have muddied the waters by trying to put it in this bylaw when I didn't need to. It's going to be set by the health department, and we're not changing it.
I was just going off of the FAQ on the health department website, and so so maybe that's wrong, or maybe it was a
No,
truncated
that's
version.
okay. I like your language with regard to brightlining these things, but some of these things, we have to just refer back to Massachusetts general law, and however the Board of Health and Mark's staff handle that. But I think we've addressed some of the parking issues that you mentioned and the occupancy. But we appreciate the time and effort you put in to do the Airbnb. I'm going to have some fun comparing our 2 databases.
Fraction of the amount of time you guys have probably spent on this thing. So, So I
Yeah,
appreciate the time.
thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
No.
For Mr. Ray? Okay. Yes.
Your favorite nattering nabob of negativity.
Geez, Spiro Agnew's back.
It was him, right? No, I heard it from the other guy, that late night after Letterman.
It was Spiro Agnew.
All right, I'm a Connecticut Yankee, so watch my back on this side.
Your name, sir?
Don Palaya, Webster Road, 44. Mr. Ray, since we have made the complaint, things have gotten better. Thank you for that. But it doesn't change the fact that, you know, we're trying to get this stuff, occupancy, toned down. I had just a couple of questions. So are we saying occupancy is still determined by the size of septic systems?
It's one of the components, but it's going to be based on the sanitary code, and that's based on the size of the rooms, and there's also building code requirements with regard to dwelling units as well. But it's not changing, I guess is my point. How the health inspectors, housing inspectors do it now is how they've been, and going to do it in the future is how they've been doing it in the past. They have their regulations.
They've been doing this way for a long time.
Well, I'm a layman. I don't understand some of this stuff. So Mr. Grills always said in the past numerous times, it's a 1,500-gallon septic system. So that means it's good for 14 people?
No.
No. You know, I appreciate your comments.
It's a question.
I appreciate your question. Again, I would appreciate if you could focus on a question with regard to this short-term rentals. We can't get into the chemistry and the physics here because it's not going to matter, quite frankly.
I'm trying to understand.
And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Whatever the Massachusetts general law is that Mark and his staff follow is what it is. And quite frankly, I'll admit to you, I don't understand the arithmetic. I have no clue about how the arithmetic works. But I don't think it's fair for us, the planning board, or for the public to have to, try to understand it this evening. So I appreciate your question. I just don't think we can answer it.
I'm trying to understand occupancy and how it's determined.
Perhaps a separate meeting with the Board of Health might help you. But this planning board does not have the experience or the knowledge to answer that question.
Thank you. As far as Mr. Slavak's comments about the 14-day restriction, if you put it in, it's there if you need it. Everybody has a digital footprint. You can tell where anybody's been. It's not hard to get.
Good comment, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi. Carolyn Kane, 23 Tanglewood. In November, I will have lived in my neighborhood for 19 years as a summer occupant. I am one of the people that comes back and forth seasonally. I have never rented my home. We deliberately moved into this neighborhood because it did not have a lot of rentals. It was not a place filled with cottages that were rented out weekly for exactly that reason. We've entertained our family, our friends there, again, never having rented it. I did have a couple of questions regarding some particulars. When the inspection goes through, is insurance looked at?
Mr. Grills? When the inspection goes through, is insurance?
Look at their, okay.
Homeowners insurance, you mean?
Owners?
No.
Okay, so we don't know if they have a codicil on there for short-term rentals? So that if the short-term rental
No.
with their fire pit in the backyard lights your house on fire and it burns to the ground and the
No.
insurance company refuses to pay for your home and theirs?
No.
And if it's in an LLC, they are bound by what is in the LLC, which is basically the property that burned down, no personal assets? I have a problem with that. That's very concerning to me, especially since I've got people that rent the house next door that are not part of the neighborhood. They're not part of the community. They have no respect or regard. Last week, there were 14 people between adults and children in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that's slightly smaller than mine. I can't imagine wanting to do that. That means 14 baths and showers every day, at least. It means at least 1 load of dishes. It means at least 2 or 3 loads of laundry, and you know they're not going home with dirty laundry. They're using those facilities because they paid dearly for them. I get where you have to have X number of people to be able to rent these places. They're extremely expensive. I did have one more question for Mr. Brooke. On the website, when it says stopped under rental certification, what does that mean?
They may have notified us that they don't rent anymore, or they may have withdrawn their application and applied under a new name. There's a million different reasons why.
Okay. House has been rented for over 6 years. They've had a certificate for 2. And now it's stopped. It's rented. It has been rented since they left and came back in. So I will make a phone call.
Yeah, there you go.
Occupancy is a big deal, and number of cars is a big deal. I walk every day. I don't want to get run down. I have jumped up into people's yards because people are zipping through the neighborhood. We all have our little green guys with the flags out going, please slow down, children in the neighborhood.
Somebody ran mine over.
Well, that would, yeah. Somebody stole his, but that was a different story. It's very concerning. We actually are on Colonial Acres Beach. My husband and I get up very early. We go walking. Nobody on the beach. Beautiful day. There are 9 cars in the parking lot, almost filling our parking spaces for our neighborhood beach.
It's an association beach kind of thing? No.
No, it's Yarmouth Beach. It's Yarmouth Beach, but I've got 9 cars there and nobody on the beach. I've got 10, 15 people renting houses right around there. My guess is that's their overflow parking. But when I'm the only person, literally, my husband and I are the only people on the beach, and 9 spaces are filled. One of them was an RV one day that we know had been there overnight. You know, and I'm not down at the beach at 9 o'clock at night, so I can't tell you, you know, for sure, so. And also the 11 o'clock loudness, I get that on a weekend, but during the week, that seems excessive to me. It seems like things ought to be toning down at 10 o'clock. I mean, you know, the fact that I go to bed early, not anybody else's problem, but 11 o'clock on a weeknight is a little late. But I appreciate everything you're doing. I know what you're trying to do. I'm hoping we can enforce some of it.
Well, I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
That's what all this comes down to.
Kathy, do we have a rule, no overnight parking at beaches?
Yeah, isn't there a rule?
I don't know.
If I could, just a quick question to help us understand the occupancy.
Name, sir?
It's Joe Callahan, 75 and 69 Webster. You've mentioned sanitary code, you've also mentioned bedrooms, and you've deferred to the health department and the size of the septic and all that. It would be helpful for all of us to, if there's a way that you can help us see that information and understand that information. Right now, I'm leaving here, it seems like it's all up in the air. How many people can go in a house, this size septic, the health department's doing this, whatever, it's all up in the air. It would be great if you could bring that information back to us. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think at some point in the database, Mark, you tell me if I'm missing this, there may be a way to identify what the occupancy is for that. So I don't think in the database that you've set up, is there an occupancy number?
There is.
I thought I figured
column?
it out. Is it?
We did figure it out.
It's not in there?
Well,
Okay.
this was done before we figured it out.
Oh, yeah, she didn't get the most updated one. Okay. Yeah,
So there will be a column for
Be a
occupancy.
column for occupancy.
yeah, there
We
was,
will have it.
yeah.
We will have it. Thank you, Mark. We will have it. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Callahan.
I guess I'm confused. Were you interested in knowing what the occupancy was for certain properties, or you were interested in knowing the methodology used to develop?
If you have that database with the homes that are rentals, if you put a column over there,
Yeah.
this is what
Yeah.
the occupancy
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Based on the
Yeah.
inspection.
Kathy, for
Very helpful.
I'm sorry, sir. For transparency purposes, I think it'd be great to have both.
Yes.
You know, what the total is and how they got to that number.
Another question back.
Yes, please.
Marcia Monday, 30 Tanglewood Drive.
So I live on, just down, across the street from Carolyn, and so the house that she happened to be talking about, I'll just hop on that, because I had other points, but they were covered by other neighbors. With the parking, I would like to see some kind of clear definition of how many parking spaces a house could have. For instance, if it's a 3-bedroom house that's going to be rented out, usually to, 2 couples or a couple of couples and some children, that's fine. But they usually come with 4 to 6 cars. They're usually parked all in a very narrow street. I'm on the creek side of Tanglewood. It's very narrow. So they're always parked into the street. Now, I know that that's illegal now, so I would have to call the police department if I see their wheels out onto the street overnight. So I would have to burden the police department about that.
Overnight
Sorry,
parking
I
is not allowed for short-term rentals at all.
Right. So.
My apologies, ma'am, but it is, I have to say this because we've had a lot of these public meetings.
Yes.
It is not a burden to the police department.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. And if the police chief was sitting next to you, he would say the following.
Right.
If you have a problem, call us.
Right.
So please,
Yes.
I ask you, and I apologize for interrupting, but the police cannot do their job sometimes unless you're willing to make the emotional leap
Right.
to educate the police about what's going on.
Right, and I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've probably been remiss in not calling.
They also
However,
I'm not saying you have been. I'm just saying I understand that we all don't want to, whatever the terminology is about either our neighbors or people who are temporarily our neighbors, but ultimately that is the only way the police department sometimes can actually enforce.
I have
issues.
chosen to speak to the owners about it in the past.
Right.
To no avail. So I'm curious whether there could be a requirement for a parking space per bedroom. This is a 3-bedroom house that has parking for 2 cars, one of those narrow little driveways. So it would not be unreasonable to ask someone to widen their driveway, which I have even made the suggestion, which is what I've done and other neighbors have also done. So that if you're going to be renting out your property, which is your right, I understand that, so you have a right to disposition, just like we have a right to enjoyment of our property. But when there's cars all over the street, during the day even, so not just overnight parking, during the day, you've got 4 to 6 or 8 cars all taking up the street. So if there would be some kind of a restriction on number of parking spaces per bedroom, I don't know, that may or may not be reasonable, but that would be my thought. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, in 418.6, number 2, under parking, we just talked about, as Mr. Callahan asked, can there be a field on the website or in the database that says, here's the number of occupants?
Right.
Can there not be based on the inspection, Mark? Based on the inspection, the finding will be the number of spaces, right? That's what this says. So can't we then put in the number of parking spaces in the same place so that any nice neighbor can look in one place at one time and we can all agree this is the number of parking spaces and the number of occupants? Would that be
Do that.
okay?
Okay.
Okay. I just want to build on Mr. Callahan's very reasonable request, and it sounds like a very reasonable thing that we can accommodate through the town staff. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Again, we're trying to be as transparent as we can, and trying to give all of our neighbors as much information as we can without invading everybody's privacy, which is kind of a little balancing act. But there is a way for us to introduce some new public information. These are public permits that are issued, and we've created this database based on what the Board of Health and the inspectors have determined, and we're going to try our best to make that a database as public as possible, so that you have access to it. And if there's something going on in your neighborhood that you think is suspicious, see it, report it.
See something, say something, right?
See something, say something. Anything else? Anyone else on this?
Madam Chair, would it be beneficial, I just have one quick question. Would it be beneficial while there's people still here until we, that may change if we change subjects on the agenda, just to mention how we're working backwards from November and that there's going to be a formal public hearing in early September Plus, there's opportunities for the nice people that are here to let the select board know all of the same feelings, because they also have a huge impact at town meeting and certainly before in terms of their recommendation, in terms of certain articles and how they're recommended and with what provisions.
I think having solid recommendations, like you're concerned about, we got some good regulations on the books, but we're concerned about enforcement. So maybe we need to hire in some additional staff, and you would be in support of that and using some of the short-term rental excise tax to do that. Because they want to hear from you guys, because this is, obviously doing that would require their approval. So supporting that would be helpful. At least it would help with getting some additional people for enforcement. But to Will's comments, we have another planning board meeting on September 2nd. We're hoping to kind of take and digest some of this information and review it one more time so that we get to a level where we're comfortable presenting this at a public hearing. All zoning bylaw changes need to have a public hearing. We're going to talk later, or we can talk now, as to what date that public hearing would be. The select board meets twice in October, October 6th, and then they also meet on October 20th, which is the date, that last date that they could finalize the articles, and they need to close the and approve the warrant for the November 16th special town meeting. So I wanted to get before the select board multiple times. I wanted to have the public hearing and then get before the select board at their October 7th or 6th meeting so that we can talk to them about it. And if they have any additional comments, we have another planning board meeting on October 14th that we could have some further discussions before we would go back to the select board on October 20th with our final article recommendations, and then that's when they would vote. They may vote on whether they recommend the articles or not, or whether they authorize to put it on the special town meeting warrant. So lots of meetings happening in the next couple months for participation, but I don't know if you want to talk about when you think I was trying to make sure we have enough select board members, because the 23rd or the 30th would not be our typical planning board meeting, so I just need to know the availability of people. The 23rd would be really, really tight. I would need to literally get the public hearing notice out by 10 a.m. the following morning, which could be done in order to properly notice it. But the 30th might be a little bit better in order to do that. So it's up to you guys on your availability for the 23rd or the 30th of September.
So can we talk about that at our September 2nd meeting?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine. I didn't know if anybody's like, I can't make it on the 23rd, or I can't make it on the 30th, or whatever.
I'm okay.
I may be going on the
Yeah,
30th. On the 30th, maybe.
Yeah.
I can Zoom.
I'm okay on the 30th,
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
It sounds like everybody's okay who's here.
For what date?
The 30th,
Okay.
I can Zoom.
maybe?
Yeah, I can Zoom.
And then we'll
Deirdre
check
was-
with Ms. Burdette.
Deirdre, I think, might need to Zoom as well. I'd mentioned it to her when I saw her the other day, Deirdre.
Okay. So we're still, it's a work in progress, for sure. And the public hearing, again, Kathy, will be on, for the articles for us? Our public hearing
Yes.
will be on what date?
I think it's the September 30th is what we're talking about.
Okay. So that would be the public hearing date.
We'll know for sure on the 2nd. But yeah, probably, it
So
sounds
we'll
like.
be meeting on the 2nd and the 16th, and we'll probably have the public hearing on the 30th. Does that give us enough time to get in front of the select board
I think
twice?
we can the thing is, I need to prepare something for the select board based on, we would actually have the public hearing, and then there'd be some deliberation by the planning board on what modifications they might want to make based on the public comments at that hearing. And if you guys feel comfortable enough, with that, then I can get the memo to the select board on the next day, and that would be on for the October 6th meeting.
So it's, if I'm hearing you,
All tight.
yeah, sorry to do calendar work here, but it sounds like we would give you more wiggle room if it were the 23rd?
It would, but we would need to, like I say, I would need to notice it the next day.
The next
It'd be
day.
tight to notice it
Either
properly.
way, it's going to be tight.
Yes.
Either way, okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's pretend it's the 30th, and hopefully we'll be able to pull that off.
Fair enough.
Okay. Anything else?
We're not done with short-term rentals,
Keep going.
because we have more articles for short-term rentals. That table, that chart that we were looking at. So I have included in your packet, I didn't include it for you guys, it's hard copies. But it's just, as I mentioned, if we're going to take all the provisions out of the zoning bylaw and put them into a general bylaw, then we need to modify the zoning bylaw to reflect that we've done that. And that's kind of what this article does. The only comment I would have is we had a nice discussion with the town council at the last meeting with regard to the effective date of the zoning bylaw changes and the effective date of the general bylaw. They obviously would both go, they all need to be approved by the Attorney General. And typically, we provide the information to them in 30 days, and then they have another 90 days in order to come up with their approval. They're just looking to see if it violates any other state regulations. Every once in a blue moon, they might say this section needs to be taken out because it's in violation of something. Most likely, they just say, oh, this could be a potential issue, but they approve it as submitted. So this was a consideration of the zoning bylaw is, when it gets approved by the Attorney General, say 120 days after it passes at town meeting, it is effective retroactively to the date of special town meeting, but general bylaws become effective at the time that the Attorney General approves it. So we have this gap, in a sense, where technically the changes to the zoning bylaw would go into effect retroactively to November 16th. But the general bylaw wouldn't be effective until, say, March 15th. So I guess I wanted to talk to town council a little bit about that, as whether we would be deleting all of this section 418, or maybe we would leave it in but extend the sunset clause so that the sunset clause dies at the same time the general bylaw would die. So it's just he wasn't concerned about it, but I don't know why, it just bothers me to have any type of gap like that. So I just wanted to have a conversation with him. I think we can address it. It's just a matter of how we deal with deletions of sections of 418 in the second bylaw. And again, this would only go before the town meeting if the first general bylaw passed. Otherwise, if it didn't pass, we would withdraw this article. Okay. And then the last one is if we got everything wrong, but we don't want to lose the income coming from short-term rentals. Right now, the sunset clause ends in November 30th of 2026. This would just say, wait a minute, we need a little bit more time to figure some of these things out. So we would extend it to December 31st, 2029. I would just like to point out to everybody that just because we passed the general bylaw at special time meeting, doesn't mean we can't go back and fix it again later, or add something. We found another problem that we needed to address, or something that was problematic. So it's not one and done. So it's always something that can be amended in the future. It would require going to town meeting, and it would require a majority vote. So I just want you to know that we still have other bites at the apple on any type of bylaws that get passed at town meeting if circumstances or additional information comes our way.
The important point here is, if we're successful in moving it to the general bylaw, it's a simple majority vote. All zoning amendments have to be 2/3, which is always difficult because we're the last items on town meeting. And everybody's left after school and after the town budget. So it's always, it's always a little tricky, but having a simple majority does give a lot more flexibility with the general bylaw.
Madam Chair, I have a quick question regarding that.
You have to come up to the
You have to
mic.
come up.
No one at home can hear you.
As my legal residence is not West Yarmouth, what are my rights at those town meetings? Can I speak but I can't vote? How does that work?
Are you a legal resident of Yarmouth?
That's not where I pay my taxes out of. My full-time residence, not my full-time residence, all right, so I'm more than 6 months in Connecticut, less than 6 months in Massachusetts.
You're not registered to vote in the town.
You're not
I'm
registered.
not registered to vote in Massachusetts.
You are allowed to come to town meeting because you're public.
Okay.
you will be allowed to speak if the moderator
Only if-
allows you.
And you should ask.
You would
ahead
have
of
to
time.
make a special request to the moderator to speak.
Do you have to sit in a special section because you're not a
Yes.
voter?
Yes,
Okay. I wasn't aware. Thank you.
you're welcome. All done on short
Done.
term?
I'm done, tired, done.
Accessory dwelling units, next on our agenda.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, good night now.
Bye-bye. No speeding.
Discussion on, a discussion this evening is on modifying the accessory apartment bylaw to match the mandated changes from the Affordable Homes Act, Section 8 of Chapter 150 of the Acts of 2024. Zoning Article 1 dated August 13th.
Pardon me, Madam Chair. Excuse me, friends. We would like to continue with our meeting. If you would like to continue your discussions, please do those outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Zoning Article 1 dated August 13th, draft number 1. Kathy, you want to walk us through that?
Yeah. I basically just took the red line version that we've been working with and just cleaned it up and put it into an article, and I also included an explanation as well. So I think there's just a couple places where we talk about accessory apartments, and we want to be sure that we change that language to accessory dwelling units. There's a section with regard to where it's under other adjoining non-conforming lots where it says prohibition of accessory or other uses, home occupations and accessory apartments. I don't think we can say accessory apartments anymore. It's just this one little weird place where it's included, because I don't think we can restrict that. And then just basically showing the changes to the use table, because anywhere where a single-family home is allowed, you have to allow an ADU. So there's a couple places where we had, yes, you can do a single-family home, but you can't do an ADU. So this is just correcting that
Right.
to match the state regulations. The purpose and intent hasn't changed. The definitions haven't changed from when you saw it previously. Applicability, again, hasn't changed, but I do this, I don't know if it's more for Peter, but it's just section 401 only allows for construction of a protected use, ADUs, no construction, okay, of accessory dwelling units other than protected, sorry, I was thinking of something else. It's the next one there. Only one ADU or any other accessory dwelling unit, whether protected or otherwise, shall be allowed as of right on a lot containing a principal dwelling unit in a single-family residential zoning district. The question to town council was, if you already had an ADU before the state regulations came into effect, is that just your regular and you still get a protected use ADU? This language that he provided, it would indicate that you get one ADU per property. Obviously, meeting the dimensional requirements, we're including that. There was one question about, we had a section in the existing ADU bylaw about requiring a special permit for non-conforming accessory structures, and whether we could continue to do that. Jay Tallerman indicated that no, we couldn't, but there is such a thing called as a Section 6 finding. It quacks and walks like a duck, except for the fact that it's a majority vote of the ZBA versus a special permit, which is supermajority. So one less vote would be needed in order to develop findings. You can still appeal it and still can, it's a decision just like a special permit. Town council mentioned that he had done this in other communities and he had some language for that and he was going to provide it. I haven't gotten the language, that's why that's all red or yellowed there and highlighted. I don't know whether people are really concerned about, if you had a non-conforming, this was really meant for like if you had a non-conforming detached structure that was too close to the property line and you wanted to convert that to an ADU, would you need to go and get findings? You can't ask for a special permit, but you can ask for Section 6 findings on that. And that would be the only case where we would do it. We've never done it before, to my knowledge, in the town of Yarmouth. I was unfamiliar with it. Mark had some familiarity with it in another community he had worked in. So I don't know whether you guys feel Section 6 findings would be warranted for a detached, non-conforming structure, or whether it's not something you want to be pursuing.
Any comments from the board?
know enough about it to
Yeah.
comment on it. I defer to Mark to educate us on it, because I don't even know what it is, so,
It's just like a special permit, but they call it something else.
really.
Because there's, Section 6 allows for, it's like special permit or findings. And the state law said you can't do special permit, but they didn't really allow the exclusion of findings. I think they'll eventually allow it.
Right.
And is it all about the vote? One is a supermajority and one is not?
Well, I think it's all about, yeah, that's
On the
the
ZBA.
difference between a special permit and a Section 6 finding, yes.
It just needs a simple majority. So that would make it, so my garage, I know, is non-conforming. It's too close to my neighbor. I want to convert that to an accessory dwelling unit.
You would need, if you added Section 6 findings, you would need to go to the ZBA, you would need to pay the application fee, there would be the public hearing notice, the butter notification, all of that.
Okay, but the vote is it sounds like it's just the vote is
It's just
different.
the vote.
Okay,
I think they just forgot to put it in. They're,
So-
It didn't get etched into that particular tablet
right.
before it's come down the mountain.
Yep.
Right.
So we can wait and see what town council has to say.
Yeah,
what
why
language
don't we
comes
do
out,
that?
and
would.
Why don't we
go
do
from
that?
there?
because, I mean, the state law has loosened up ADUs so much. This sounds like it's loosening it up even more.
This?
If, with the Section 6 finding, meaning the ZBA would need just a simple majority.
Yes.
Well, go back to the title of the ADU, it's a protected by right, a protected use ADU. So if you don't have the Section 6 finding in there in front of a public hearing, and somebody wanted to do that, you can do that by right. So today, if they came to me and wanted to turn that into, it might be a foot away from the property line.
Yep.
The neighbors, my kids play in the playground right next to that garage, so there could be a million other reasons why, but it gets it to a public hearing where you can't require a special permit because that's what 760 CMR
Okay.
says.
All right, we'll wait to hear from Jay Talaman on that, Kathy.
Just to be clear, Jay was able to provide, he did look at it over the weekend and provided some comments on short-term rentals, but he didn't do it on the ADUs. Okay,
Yeah, that's
just so
fine.
he hasn't had a chance to do that. We did add in last meeting, we did want to include a minimum, and so accessory dwelling units shall not be less than 350 square feet, which is what we had in before, even if it exceeds 50% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling. So that was Mark saying, if you had a 600 square foot principal dwelling and you wanted to build an ADU, technically the 50% would govern, it would be 300 square feet. But this says, well, not taking that into consideration, we'll let you go to the 350 because we want you to have the minimum. I think this is going to impact very few properties, but there are some cottages in certain areas. And we don't want to be creating a bunch of micro ADUs around town. So if we can get a minimum in, I think that would be very helpful. And then the other big thing that we talked about in number 7, 8, and 9 had all been combined in a sense into one paragraph at the time. We can definitely do number 7, accessory dwelling units shall not be used for short-term rentals. That's definitely allowed. Number 8, no principal dwelling on a lot with an ADU may be operated as a short-term rental. We had that in before, and Jay felt that we could keep that in because the regulations the state regulations are only talking about the protected use ADU, not any other dwelling on the property. So we have the right to regulate that. The problem that we ran into was he didn't really think that number 9 was going to fly because we are not a seasonal we have not accepted a seasonal community designation. He said that language similar to this seems to have gotten by on other communities, but they're all seasonal communities that have that extra language with regard to year-round housing. So I don't know when we're going to become or if we're going to become a seasonal community. So I feel like as it's written, we're not going to get this passed. And is there a way of softening it even a little bit to promote getting it back? It needs to be someone's primary residence if you're renting it, somebody's primary residence, which kind of tells you that they live there more than.
Well, Madam Chair, my first take on this is if you can't use the short-term rental if you can't use the ADU as a short-term rental, and the principal unit can't be, is that number 9 even necessary?
Well, I think
Because it's never going to be a short-term rental.
Yes, so what we had before was no seasonal rentals. What we wanted was we wanted it to be a primary residence for a year-round
I
person.
completely understand that.
Short-term rentals helps, it's not
Right.
going to turn into a short-term rental. But I think the goal is we want this to be where somebody's going to,
Oh, without question, I certainly understand. I'm just saying, is it redundant that if you can't use it for short-term, what's the ultimate goal going to be? You're going to rent it year-round, or at
or
least
for
seasonally?
the season,
Right.
right? And do we care?
That's, I guess, where I'm
Yeah.
going
You may
with
not-
it. Do we
you-
care at that point?
Could be an employee, could be a 6-month employee or something.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Sure.
Exactly.
So,
Ones or-
so Jay didn't really, we separated it out because we thought that might be one of those things when we sent it to the AG's office.
Mhm.
They said strike number 9 because it's against such and such rule.
Right.
But
Can I ask a question? Let's say we submit this with number 9
Yeah,
and the AG strikes it. What, does that reset the clock? Does that change anything?
no, they would just basically, they would redact that
Right.
line.
I'm okay with that.
Them redacting it?
We get it, great. If we don't,
Right.
No, the reason I asked is because if it doesn't affect, I don't know, if it doesn't affect the clock,
Leave
I
it
think
in?
there's something wrong with the way it's written, though. All approved ADUs shall be for year-round use by tenants. What if if it's an in-law apartment, you're not renting
not-
it?
Yeah.
So,
that's literally not true.
so what you want is it to be someone's primary residence. I don't care how long your term, it's your primary residence.
Is that all that needs to be said then?
That's what I'm saying.
All
Is that all you
ADUs shall
need
be
to
used
say?
as a primary residence. Whether that residence is 6 months for a employee worker at the hospital or 12 months for my mother-in-law,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Take that last
Yeah,
line.
just say, all approved ADUs shall be,
I think you take that last line.
And then just strike the last sentence.
Yeah, strike the last sentence.
Mr. Grills has a suggestion, Madam Chair.
Oh,
Madam Chair?
yeah, Mr.
Yeah,
Ritz.
760 CMR very specifically references primary residency, and you can't require a primary residency of the
can't.
owner of the property. But as far as the accessory dwelling unit goes, I think it's silent on that.
I see your point. Yeah, because originally we had that, to have an ADU, that had to be your primary residency.
as a traveling nurse,
I didn't bring it with me.
or a resident, you know, or
No, no.
Yeah,
They
the
wouldn't-
hospital regularly uses hotel rooms in town. They used to use the Tidewater quite a bit, and they would put nurses in there for 2 months while they were in training at
But
Cape
they
Cod
get
Hospital.
prior approval.
Yeah, they had come to me and they'd
Right.
prove to me that they were going to move out, and then I'd grant the stay, and then, but I think these ADUs serve a lot of purposes, so,
Do you have a suggestion, Mark, about number 9?
nope.
That's fine.
He's
Just
a
wanted to
very,
ask the question.
he's a very
Being
smart man.
honest.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the 760 CMR does reference
Yeah.
not requirements of a primary residence of the owner. I don't know if it says that of the accessory dwelling unit.
Right.
I don't know
It's
if it
worth looking
references
at.
that at all.
This might be a way of
So-
getting it
We
around.
suggest
so
that
we-
Kathy talk to Jay about it
Yeah,
a little more,
Oh, yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I just feel like the last sentence should definitely go. I
I
don't
think
think
so.
we should
I think
talk
so, too.
about that.
Lease agreements,
And then I think we should see how we tweak the first.
clean up the first sentence.
better chance of it getting through it.
Right.
And I had an explanation. If anybody has any comments, or I haven't done it for any other one, but I did manage to do something for the ADUs. So if you have any edits on that, you can get that to me so I can include it in the next rendition for the second. That would be good.
Sure. Yeah, any comments, come back at September 2nd on that one, on the explanation. Okay. Next on our agenda, we done with ADUs, Kath?
Yes.
We did this, we did this special town meeting roadmap, and seasonal communities designation. Kathy's prepared a draft memo with some adjustments from our last one. And we'd like to get this in front of the select board. with any other edit changes.
We did talk with Jay about it, because one of the things that Susan had recommended was that we include in the letter that, since we didn't get a definitive answer from HLC, that the planning board recommends that our town council ask for a legal opinion with HLC confirming our ability to prohibit movable tiny houses. So that might take a little bit of while. I don't think this is going to be on the fall town meeting. The Affordable Housing Trust wasn't like gung-ho to support it, because they're busy with their RFP and their mixed use on Route 28. Community Housing Committee is similarly very, very busy and wouldn't necessarily be able to take advantage in the near future of any of the opt-in options with regard to attainable housing or having a year-round housing trust and that type of thing. But I'd like to get this ahead of them, so at least then town council could make that inquiry, so we could confirm the movable tiny homes question.
Any comments from board members on this?
No,
No, looks good.
So should we send it?
you send it.
Mass DOT Route 28 Corridor Improvement Project. This is one that just flew in this week. More.
I'm sorry, I meant to pull up an aerial of this. As you know, Mass DOT is doing a Route 28 corridor improvement project to improve Route 28's multimodal abilities from the Parkers River westward all the way into Barnstable to Yarmouth Road. And one of the inquiries I received from Tom Curry, he's a really good project manager at Mass DOT. He's very good in the details and inquiring. They had recently been able to finally schedule their utility walkthrough, which took 3 days with all the utilities. They had to walk the entire length, move the pole there, save that tree. You know, they were like doing a lot of details that way. But Amanda Lima, the town engineer, and Jeff Colby, DPW director, had mentioned that, you know, we have village centers and maybe we might want to have some different streetscape amenities to highlight the fact that they're in a village center. Understand that the section that we're looking at is from the south side. You're having a 10-foot shared use pathway, which is pavement. You're gonna have a 5-foot green strip. Then you'll have, you know, a bike lane, travel lane, bike lane, and then a 5.5-foot sidewalk on the north side. So when they're talking about maybe doing something like brick sidewalks, I'm sorry, I did not copy this over, I apologize. You have pictures of it in your packet. He mentioned that Dennisport had had recently done it on their project, and they had the brick. This is something that I think we're going to be incorporating into the Route 6A Village Center project as well, to have this type of detail. So you had some pictures in your packet there to give you an idea, understanding that Dennisport's a real
Condensed area.
Yeah, it's a real
Storefront
village.
businesses.
Yes.
I mean, when I saw the memo, that was the first thing that I came to mind, Kathy, and Madam Chair, was where they're talking about, along the stretch on 28 where they're proposing it. There's a vast difference between that area of Dennisport and the section of 28 that they're proposing.
Whereabouts are they proposing?
In Harwich, they're proposing it, and again, they have a beautiful little downtown area.
Yep.
In Orleans, and you know, I'm not exactly sure, I just did the aerial search, I think those projects are like in design. This is one that was actually constructed, and I could look at it on Google Maps. My only place where I'm wondering whether we might want to highlight something a little bit different, even if it's with just the sidewalk on the north side, is the VC1, where the Parkers River Landing is. Maybe it's a little bit longer stretch, but I feel like that, we're trying to make that a community center. We have a huge hub now with the active park going on, but there was no space where I said, this is exactly where we need to have it, because we don't really have a town center on Route 28, even though we're trying to create them with the villages. The only place I see is maybe Great Island Plaza, you know, if something were to come there in the future, and then maybe bringing it down to the park. And I'm not even, in the decorative lighting is, you know, it looks it looks a little funny, quite frankly, in Dennisport, because you have all the overhead utilities.
Right.
And then you have these pretty
Street lights.
decorative lightings next to it. And I'm not a big fan of this lantern-y type. I like a shepherd's hook.
I mean, I will say, my daughter goes to music lessons at West Bend Music, which is right there, next to Bucky's. And it's actually quite lovely.
Here,
Yeah,
in Dennis.
the red brick. But I also agree that it looks better because of the nature of the particular strip that it was put in for. We can debate lighting sconce looks another time. But the brick itself and the feel and the way that they executed it is very nice. But it doesn't, I agree with Tom and others, it doesn't fit. And goodness gracious, if we put red brick down in front of Great Island Plaza the way that looks, I mean, I would not be in favor of that.
I know. But it's.
Unless the reverse is
This is going to
true.
be down for how many decades, though?
No, but what I'm saying is, unless the reverse was true, unless we had some sort of commitment from the nice folks at Great Island Plaza to finally knock that down and start over, then I would be a lot more sympathetic, because it is literally the same exact kind of strip, notwithstanding the length, but certainly had the potential for the quality of what they've done in Dennisport. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. What I'd like to do is, we're not going to decide anything tonight, but as you travel on Route 28, let's all keep an eye out to where we think it might work between Harkers River and the Barnstable Town Line.
I don't disagree. I mean, they just asked me, and I'm like, nothing really jumped out, you know? But I go, let's just talk to the planning board and see if you guys think of something different, so.
I mean, certainly my quick thought on it, the only area that I think would be apropos, because I do think there's future redevelopment in that area, is the Parker River Landing, that stretch from the bridge towards,
Yeah.
There was a proposal before us for the old China,
Yeah, and that's.
the old
that's-
Chinese restaurant, that's
gonna-
right there.
right.
Right, but that would be the shared use pathway.
Right, oh, that's the south side. Right. Bummer.
So you would have, and you don't want too long of a stretch of the brick, because you really
Right,
want
right,
to
right.
highlight an area.
Right.
So it was a
So the
great
brick is-
offer, but I'm not really seeing necessarily.
The brick is only on the north side?
Well, that's where the sidewalk would
Right,
be.
it's only
On the
on-
south side is a shared use
Yeah.
pathway, which would be pavement.
On the other, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
But
okay.
this is the brick that they're talking about using in Yarmouth Ford, right? That look, yeah, okay.
Okay, so we'll just keep an eye out for that, Kathy, and try to help you if we come with anything.
Yeah, we should discuss it at the next meeting, because
Yeah.
he's going to want to know, so that they can include it in,
You know, one way or another.
right, in their final, in their next submission, what they're doing in December.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the update, any Kathy, on the Matakees utilization project?
Yes, the Assistant Town Administrator, Amy Frigiletti, has received, I think, the final scopes, or will be receiving it very soon from the consultants, and we are planning on having a internal team kickoff meeting on the week of September 14th. So that is something that is moving forward.
Okay. Meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the July 15th,
So moved.
2026?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
I will abstain.
May I have a motion to approve the August 5th, 2026 minutes?
So moved.
Second, I can second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Abstain.
Abstain.
So you're abstaining?
203.
I wasn't here, so.
203. Doesn't it pass?
You're all abstaining.
No, we weren't here.
So does it pass if it's only the two of us?
I think it does, because it's the voting members.
Right.
Okay.
It's weird.
Right, we didn't technically vote. It's like we weren't here.
Next item, Board of Appeals and agenda item updates. Kathy, you've been
I'm sorry, I just
good
need to
about
finish
sending
writing.
the
what-
ZBA stuff to us.
You guys are way ahead of me. All right, I'm sorry?
Well, they had the first boat. They had the first boat permit
Yes.
discussion and vote from the gentleman that brought it to our attention those many months ago, 18 months ago. He finally went to the ZBA.
Oh, for the boat?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Did it pass?
It did.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I mean,
I was driving
we are.
down.
I don't know if the Lobsterman has, though.
No, I was driving down Route 28, and
Yes.
who do I see selling lobsters at the corner of
West Yarmouth Road?
West Yarmouth Road and Route 28? He's selling his lobsters on Route 28.
All summer.
In addition to his
He did get
house?
he did get
He
his
did,
special
he did get a
to do
permit,
it at
yeah.
his home.
I didn't know that.
But I was surprised. I was
So
like,
he's doing both?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Who,
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, can I ask, who fixed up that lot? Was that him or
It's Joe
us?
Marama's lot.
It is Joe's lot, okay.
That makes sense.
Committee updates.
Just a real quick one on RAC. We did have a meeting last week, and, as everybody knows, summertime, pretty much everything's shut down, but they did get, I always get the name of the roads wrong there, Winslow Gray. They got that high-pressure main tied into the Joshua Baker line that runs over to where the plant is gonna be, and there was some other discussions on Bayberry. But the one piece that I had talked about for a couple of months, I believe the date, and I'll get it to Kathy and Joanne, I believe the date is September 24th. I did request that if planning board members wanted to come, that we will be having a tour of the new wastewater, where the wastewater treatment plant stands. And it is, I believe, going to be at 3:30 in the afternoon, and the planning board is welcome to come. I will confirm the date, Joanne and Kathy, and let everybody know.
Okay.
But I think it's where they've coming out of the ground, they're moving along. I'm sure you've seen it, Mark. I've driven in and seen it.
Pretty intense. They're doing a great job, too.
It's very intense. So
good
it should be
news.
exciting to see.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Capital Budget will have our first meeting on September 14th. And Library Board, we're working on building policies.
I'm sorry, you're working on what?
Building policies.
Building policies.
You mean the buildings?
Building use.
Building use.
Building
Who
use.
can
Right,
use
of
it.
the buildings, not
Yes.
building a new.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, the use of the current buildings.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a quick CEDC update.
Okay.
Although we have not met because of some quorum issues, we will be meeting on the 24th, a very robust agenda. But connected to the last time we met in June, we did authorize, I have to double check with Megan. I want to say $50,000 from the boardwalk markers, from the boardwalk, sorry, the Grays Beach Boardwalk have been destroyed. And right before the summer started, the CEDC voted to release a lot of the money that was raised by people who paid for the boardwalk
The planks.
planks. Thank you. That's the word, planks. And we released $50,000 of that money, and it's open. DPW went in there and bang,
it's
got
open
it
now.
done. And it got it open while we still have a nice chunk of the summer left, much less the best time of year, as we all know,
Yeah.
is September through November.
great.
So I just want to give a very special thank you to the town and to the, it's not DPW, it's our friends in the,
DNR.
thank you.
DPW.
It's been a bit of a summer for me, sorry. DNR especially, who came to us to ask for the money, and literally, this is your government at work. It worked. And thankfully, it's open because it's a beautiful part of our town for everybody, whether you live here year-round or not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
People keep asking, nothing was damaged with the boardwalk planks themselves.
No,
So if you
it
have a
was just
plank,
the-
you're fine.
It was just the, yeah.
Madam Chair, while we
Yes.
have Mark, can I ask, talking about DOT going in the other direction, Parker's down to Bass River, are, more particularly the plaza?
Which plaza?
Hardware store, Cumberland Farms,
Yeah,
so the Cumberland Farm, the Cumberland Farms, former.
that's at a convenience store. It used to be
Convenience
Cumberland
store,
Farms.
Right. They tried to put their sign in their driveway because they were told they couldn't put it where Cumberland Farms had it.
I can't issue a permit to place it on the road layout, so that's just the way the world works. They could apply to Mass DOT and ask them for permission, and then take that permission to the ZBA and see if they'd grant relief, but I can't issue the permit for that.
So that's going to be, is there a delineation somewhere in that parking lot so people know?
One more time?
Is it outlined, or is there a marker that shows where the road layout extends into that
Oh,
property?
I don't know for a fact.
I'm sure there's not. I'm sure there's not. That's a 1933 layout. I don't know why people were building their parking in it to begin with. I don't know how that ever happened.
Yeah, the whole plaza is-
1933?
I thought it was more recent, and it bothered me, so I looked it
All
up,
will
and
be
it was
gone.
really
So
old.
I think it's going to affect all their parking in total across the whole front of that building.
The Mass DOT project, yeah.
That's a plaza, that would be a nice redevelopment project, granted, there's 3 owners of the whole thing.
Nice guy. I met with him, and I've explained all this to him last year, so, nice guy.
Yeah, and it's across the street from the great work that Jay Ahmad did with the
Yeah.
road bylaw. That looks fabulous.
Yeah, it's,
Absolutely
that's looking really
I had
good.
the chance to drive by it until last week, and I was like, whoa.
Was in it today. It's,
Were you?
yeah,
Yeah.
he's getting ready to open.
Inside.
Beautiful, did a great job.
Yeah, it looks really great.
How's he doing finish coat, Mark?
They're looking for the CO next week for
Oh, really?
for the gas station piece. I think the residential units aren't ready yet. I think they're still working on some framing,
Right.
so.
Yeah, it looks really great.
That fence, remember the sound dampening
Yeah,
fence?
did a nice
That
job with
looked
the whole
really
thing.
good.
He really did. I mean, he followed what was laid out.
Hopefully those abutters will also feel the same way.
Well, I know that you have the fence issue that they.
Acoustic, it was the acoustic.
It's just, yeah, whether or not it's going to be extended down
Right.
according to the plan.
Yeah, the fence on the side that abuts.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
he is the butter. Butter.
Thank you.
It's supposed to go within 20 feet of the road layout on his
Right.
side, and I don't think that's in yet.
Which
According-
is that
On the west end of the property.
furthest
On
west
the
little
east-
driveway,
On the
the
east
out,
end, on the east
I mean,
end,
it's east
the
end.
out,
I got-
the outfall of the drive-through or the other end?
the other end.
I don't know, I didn't even look over there, I was in the commercial building, but they're well aware that they're not getting a CO until they've met every stick of that plan, so, we haven't had a chance to look at it, but we will. There's also another fence that's missing. The ZBA required a chain link fence along the edge of the residential property, so the kids wouldn't run out into the parking lot, and that's, I think it was either being installed today or tomorrow. So he's picking away at it.
Madam Chair, can I, I'm sorry, can I
Sure.
ask Mark one last question as we're talking about different properties?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's just a simple question. I just want to understand what follow-up there may be. On Station Ave, the old Shell station that's been shuttered, and one of the requirements was plantings out front, and they followed all the planting schedule and everything else, but there hasn't been 1 ounce of maintenance done to it since then. Is there any recourse to that at all? I mean, it's a weed, all just looks like a
Oh,
weed
no, I
infested.
drive by it every day,
Yeah,
so.
me too, so.
I don't think it says it has to be maintained, just it has to be
That's, I
planted.
just was curious.
And speaking,
Mr.
speaking-
Rubenstein.
yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Speaking of Station Avenue, it seems that the beginnings of our friends from Taco Bell, they're starting to stir over at those 2 properties, and
They've been vacated.
it will be quite a show over there for the next, I don't know, 6 months. Who knows?
Soon to see.
And
Soon to find out.
I just wanted to know, Madam Chair, were you going to talk about the correspondence we received about the tree situation on Old Main Street? Was that going to be on an agenda item in the future, or is that not part of our agenda as we know it? Is everybody familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes, I think the issue is that they have resolved that concern,
Since-
but they haven't been able to get back to the property owner, so I want to wait and see how
We
that.
don't know if he knows that it's been resolved.
Yes, he knows that, he inquired to
About
me.
the trench.
No, I get it, Madam Chair. I read it.
My
Yes.
understanding is that it has been moved
Okay.
to address his issues. Whether it's to the satisfaction of him, I don't know, but I indicated that the town engineer would be reaching out to them.
Okay, so it hasn't, I couldn't
Hasn't
tell if it
bubbled
read
up to
like.
us yet.
Right, it read like he wanted to come here and tell us, but then it also read like, I'm telling you now via email, just so you know, in case we need to come talk to you again.
I think
That's why I
my,
just wanted some clarification.
my bigger concern, I think, is that they didn't get the grant.
Right.
So, how is that
For the
going to?
plantings.
Right, so Amanda's on vacation this week, but she's very busy because they've had, someone else in engineering's been on a long medical leave, so they're really strapped, so I'm not pushing too hard. But whether they had a backup plan for that, whether they're going to go to capital budget, whether they have some money already in there, like sidewalk or something. It literally is required as part of the sewer project. I mean, so I don't know whether there's any funds there, so I don't know what the backup plan is, and I wanted to inquire about that,
The
because
budget would be great, it just won't do it, nothing
it
will happen
won't,
for 8
and they need to
months.
come and get like an extension from you guys to, because you're supposed to be all planted by May of next year.
Right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wasn't sure if that was
Yeah.
going to come up tonight.
One other item I have, just Kathy, I think you've forwarded today the note I got from Select Board Member Mark Forrest with regard to the MMA letter on the economic bond bill.
Yep. There's a hard copy that was also.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So hopefully their voice can be heard. We'll see. I don't know how influential they are on Beacon Hill or not, but I wanted to share that with you because I don't know who else received it. It was kind of a blind copy to me.
Correct, yeah. I didn't know either.
so-
I assumed you got it, but.
Yeah. Any other staff updates, Kath?
I don't know, I don't think we were able to mention it because we had to cut the meeting short last time, but the RFP for the design standards of looking at the change of zoning, that's gone out and proposals are due on September 16th.
That goes right to you?
It goes to me, and I guess the question I have is.
I was wondering about that.
Typically, like when we did the LCP, one member, Joanne, of the planning board was on the selection committee. I don't know whether you want to have anyone from the board to be on there. Obviously, we don't want quorum because that creates too many problems. But I'm sure it would be myself, obviously, and Megan, and I'm not sure who else. You want at least 3 people.
Why don't we do this, Kathy, if I can make a suggestion, because Susan and Deirdre aren't here. Just send out a note to everybody and get back to her if you can do it. I will not be doing it.
It's also possible, Madam Chair, if this makes sense, that Megan could ask someone from CEDC to do it, unless that seems out of hand. Because they also authorize the money.
They could double dip with the person who's on CEDC.
No, I'm not, no, believe me, I'm not suggesting myself. That is literally not what I'm doing. You can say whatever you'd like, but that is not what I'm doing. I'm literally then I withdraw my previous comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I thought you were volunteering.
No, I'm not.
The 16th of September.
I might.
There you go.
Look at that.
Oh, thank you,
Let me
Tom.
look at my schedule, but I might.
Understand that, I'm sorry, let's make it clear. That's when we receive them, and then they go to Svetlana, and she makes sure that everybody has met the minimum
So it's not
requirements.
gonna be-
Then we send
be
it out, and there's a
October,
form that you have
Has to be.
to fill out.
Yeah.
Yes, and then get back, and then we meet. So it's like a couple, it's not like on the 16th.
It'd be in October.
You probably would get it sometime at the end of September. We could schedule something for early October. We'd obviously want to keep it moving.
I think conditionally, yeah, I'll do it.
Because the thing is I'm sure we may want to interview somebody depending on all of those things, so,
Yeah, nothing else.
It's great that it's moving forward.
yes. We did also hire an economic development program manager, or made an offer, and he's accepted. I don't know what the protocol is, whether I can say who it is, but it's going to be going before the select board. Any division head level person has to just kind of get the sign off from the select board based on the town administrator's recommendation. So.
That'd be at the next select board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't, probably. I would like to think it would be then.
So is this like a Kyle Pendicini?
No, this is actually a division head level position. So it's somebody who's going to be running an entire economic development program for the town of Yarmouth. And this fulfills one of our LCP goals of
Oh, yeah.
adding more staff to the economic development, who's focusing just on economic development. I think we got a really good person. I think we're going to get a lot of really good things out of
Reporting to
it.
Local
Megan?
individual?
Reporting to Megan, yep.
Great.
So,
Well, we'll wait for the select board to come down from their mountain, their tablets.
yeah, I don't want to.
Or, sorry, Bob.
I don't know what the protocol is.
I think you
on
have to
that.
let them say
Yeah,
yes
we
first.
don't want to spoil
I
anything.
don't want to give a spoiler. And then just with the MMA letter, which Joanne already talked
Yeah.
about.
Upcoming meetings, we've got a couple coming up, September 2nd, September 16th.
More than a couple, Madam Chair.
Well, we added one today, September 30th.
30th. And Madam Chair, just so you know, and Kathy, I will be out and not available for the month of October. I'm having my knee done October 5th, so I anticipate being out for,
Well, that's good that we squeezed in September 30th.
yeah,
there. That's
thanks,
good.
thanks.
Got you right under the wire, man. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Kath?
No.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.